Andy, you look well rested.
Yeah, fairly well rested. Yeah, it's like 10 p.m. here now, so okay.
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy frickin' Saturday. It's that day of the week, down to the hour, minute, and second, that we turn our broadcast time back to give you Disclosure Tonight at 10 p.m. in the United Kingdom for all of our friends in Europe as we come together to talk about those things the government won't. To talk about those things from science fiction, more importantly, to talk about those things we've seen many times on the X-Files. And if you're lucky enough, if you go outside at night, some of the things that'll be observing you as you're observing them. By your house, what are we talking about? We're talking about UFOs, ETs, and aliens. Yes, we know that they've been around for thousands of years, and we're not going to change the name from UFOs. Why? Because it's been a word for it in every single language around the world throughout antiquity. So while the government idiots argue about what they're going to call this as they prepare and continue their war against the extraterrestrials, well, you know what? We're not going to have it because we know this isn't a peace mission. We know this is a government operation. It's all military. There's no science. There's no welcoming. It says for itself exactly what they see. They consider it a threat. They don't consider it to be anything that they should respect. They destroy the craft. They do whatever they can to figure out their technology, their biology, and take it for our use. Why? It's all going for the war machine. Yes, the executive branch of our government has been covering this up for 75 years, if not longer. But you know what? Congress is striking back. We're all pushing back. We all want to know where it is. We're not sheep. It's 2023. We know what's been flying over our skies, even if those bozos won't tell us what the heck it is and what they know. They can say they don't know anything, but the truth of the matter is they know a lot more, and they're just not willing to frickin' talk about it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Disclosure Tonight for our UK-centric show, or for our friends across the channel over in Europe, for that matter, the EU. Yeah, today we're talking about Australian UFO files. Yeah, something that Ross Coleholler brought out, I believe, last week or so, and something that came to me by the attention of Wes Decker, of something that we really need to cover, and I actually turned the world upside down. Well, Australia would say it's right side up. But either way, let me find the chat that I did not. I thought I popped it out. Did I not? Oh, I didn't pop it out. I did. But I didn't set it up right, did I? Come on, where's it at? Yeah, welcome. Tom, you lost the chat again. I know. Give me a second. There's that, but I never did this. So hopefully I'll be able to bring a majority of the chat out here. Let me go ahead and pop out my local chat here. Come on, streaming dockable, and I need to go from 200 limit to save 20,000 messages, please. There we go, and churn this across to, wrong one, a live chat. There we go. Okay, we're all set. We've got everybody here, and I can go ahead and welcome everybody in about time. Yeah, I know. I slept in today, I admit it. I slept in until 12:30 and got up and got ready and threw a title card together. Cupcake just is fed and everything, so I'm keeping an eye out for her. I could bring up the cupcake cam. Keep an eye out for her. But on that note, let's go ahead and welcome everybody in from the audience. Close down that little thing on my camera. Oh, one more thing I need to do before I forget. Always important. Pop out the projector window. Yes, I'm a little bit behind, but you know what? At least I got a new haircut. Yeah. When you get up late in the morning, you can still have a live stream and not have to worry about your hair, thank God. Who else do we have out there in the audience right now? If you look at that, yeah, it doesn't go back to the start, everybody, but welcome, Renee Cruz. Good seeing you here today. I'm going to be watching the NFL playoffs. Yeah, I forgot those are actually going on. Whoops. LD Drums 20. I haven't heard anything from Eric in a while. Which Eric? Good to see. Remember, we do have viewer call-in going today. There's a link up at the top of the chat for anyone who wants to jump in, have a question, or have some comments on the things we're talking about. In the back right now, we've got both LM and Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. We've got Tony D is in the audience. Who else do we have out there? Jan is here. She's not in the middle. She's at the start of it. Holy cow. Rach Beal is around. Would you believe that? Digger Dog, afternoon, all from the left coast. Thor, Jan, Andy, and Thomas. Welcome, Digger Dog. Good to see you here, my friend. Jonathan. Hey, chat, guess what? What? Constantine Dante. Good morning, everyone, from Oz. Yes, I know I didn't go ahead and play it. There we go. Susan, we know you're watching. Keep up the good job, please. Thanks. Who else do we have out there? Florence Tracy. Good morning, Mom. How you doing? Glad to see her feeling better in the audience. Peggy and Steve. Hey, happy Saturday, friends, all the way from frickin' Florida. Hey, Google, what's the temperature in Florida?
In Miami, it's currently 77 degrees.
Nice, 77 degrees. It was 35 degrees here when I got up this morning, and it was a heavy, heavy snow going on. Yeah, one of those days. And thinking of that, the snow and the whole bit, I am going to need to do this. I have to go ahead and bring up the cupcake cam. She is outside right now, and if she's going to be outside, I need to know when she's going to come to the door so I can let her in. Let me find a scene here. Add it in. Wildlife cam. There we go. The backyard is there. There's a squirrel in the backyard. Take it down small so I will be able to know when the little girl is ready to come back in. So let's go ahead and move on. Continue with our welcome. Joseph Syracuse. Welcome, Joseph. Appreciate you coming out here today. Who else is out in the audience? Thor. Good to see you, my friend. Fiction or fact? I think you were the first one here today. You said you haven't gone to bed yet. So welcome from Germany. Good to see you, my friend. Dankeschön. Natürlich. Or Tony D. Welcome, my friend Lindsay. Welcome, Lindsay. Good evening, Thomas, and everyone else. Good to see you coming in today. Adele and Mark. Followed Mom, Bromley, and good to see you. Actually, Tracy. These are the Bromleys. Florence Tracy is the mom. Absolutely. Our Ranch Airgun Fun Channel. Haven't seen you in a while, Brian. Hope you're feeling better, my friend. Happy Saturday, fellow Earthlings. Hello, Thomas Fessler, followed by Nathan Forrest. Good to see you. Constantine Dante again. Down Under. You better believe it. The Thunder from Down Under. Well, not on this show, but oh my God, there's a video I saw. Oh, there she comes. And can I grab her? Oh, there she goes. Yeah, she'll do that to me. She'll come to the door. I go to get to the door and bring her in, and then she runs away again. Good little girl. Keeps me running. Craig T. Good to see you. Hi, everyone. Good to see you, Craig. Wildcat Mahone. Wildcat. Nice. Thanks for coming in. Steve Sanders is in the audience. Lizzie is around. Good to see you, everybody. Would you look at that? Holy cow. Scott Jensen has started off the super chats today, and I am prepared. I think. Music's just a little loud. Take it down a little bit. Holy cow. Thank you for starting off the super chats tonight. What a great way to support Disclosure tonight. Every single dollar that comes in Disclosure tonight goes back into our production fund. We appreciate all the love and support we get from everybody on Disclosure tonight here, and hopefully you enjoy the kind of broadcast. We try to be fair. We try to accept many different opinions of people, but here's the thing. If we got inside information from a very high, reputable source, that Rams with Blue, or other places, and someone else is trying to go down a rabbit hole, I'll stick to my guns. But generally speaking, beyond that, anybody can see. We remain in the center on Disclosure tonight, and people can be as far left or as far right as they want to be. But you know what? That's what it's about. It's the love it's the passion for this, the love for the audience, and what we bring here. Thank you very much. And by the way, if you want to get Scott Jensen's autograph, he's on the back right side of the studio, the back right side of the studio. Just don't look him in the eye. He'll turn you to stone. Thanks, Scott Jensen. I appreciate, well, he won't, but thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the love. Larry Gurnt. Looking good, Thomas. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. I was noticing that on the camera today. It's like, wow, it's a great picture. Has it always been that good? Oh, that's right. I put my glasses on. Who else? Scott Jensen's around. Joseph Syracuse. Going through TFK withdrawal. Where is he? Working on the house, working with the wife, having a good one. Hopefully he is doing all right. Scott Jensen is around, and Grip Ripper came in at the last under. Almost got this thing started. One more super chat coming in. A great thanks from Mr. Larry Gurn. Let's throw that up. I love these super stickers. More importantly, we are the only live stream on YouTube that actually shows the super stickers on screen. Everybody talks about it, but we actually show it. So thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate that little super sticker report. What a great way to say thanks. Appreciate that, Larry. And let's have a fun time with this today, because it's going to be a fun time for me. Holy cow. Oh, God, what the hell did I do with that window now? It was here. Oh, boy. Yeah, I moved things around to find stuff. Oh, shit. We got another one coming in from Jacques Landry. Another super sticker. Would you look at that? Holy cow. This one is just saying, hey-ya, or hiya. Hiya, Jacques. Thanks very much. Appreciate the Jacques, I should say. The S is probably silent for that super chat, super sticker. Thank you very much, sir. Hiya to you, and hiya to everybody in TV land. I guess we could say that. It is kind of what it is these days. Now, where in the hell did I just put? Oh, there it is. It's huge. It is huge. Would you listen to that? Listening while he works. Coming to us from our own little Snow White, Anonymous Rex. You'll never live that one down, oh, Snow. But it was snowing here earlier today. But what are you working on today, Tim? Interesting to hear. So, what are we talking about here on Disclosure tonight today? Let me grab the cupcake cam as I jump across. But before I get across to there, let's go say hi to a couple people we've got in the back of the studio right up. There's Cupcake, and there she goes. She's working me. All right, let me get a desktop. Oh, there's, well, I think she's ready to come in. Let's see if I can grab her. Come on, Cupcake, come on. Cupcake. I don't know if you saw that I was wearing shorts. I have not worn a pair of pants in 3 years, it seems like. You don't have to. Well, yes. No, I haven't. I was going to say, well, if I have to go to work, but I've got a medical excuse for that one. On that note, let's jump across into the desktop world if we can. Where are we at? Oh, yeah, here we go. What are we talking about today? Yeah, there's an interesting set of files. Unfortunately, it's not in PDF form yet. I'm going to have to go through every one of these freaking papers coming to us from the National Archives of Australia. It's documentation marked as secret. Well, it was secret. It's been marked to retain permanently, but it's a classified documents regarding UFOs. And if ever anyone who's interested to look at the documents as we go through them today, I'll go ahead and, oh God, where did I put the chat now? Where did I hide the chat? I need to be able to put stuff into the chat. There we go. All right, there we go. If anyone is interested in the documents, I'll try and remember to add it to the description below. Document link. I gotta stop doing that. There we go. All right, let's hide the chat now and let's move on. So, before we get into this, Andy, welcome, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, hiya, Thomas. Yeah, doing good. Freezing cold and foggy out, but yeah.
Yeah, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is right below freezing. What are you about? -1, -2?
Yeah, -1 our money here.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Also in the back, we have LM. Welcome, LM. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Thomas. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope some other people join in on this. I'd love to hear what everybody has to say.
Absolutely. Thank you for encouraging. Remember, it's a fun conversation to have as we're going through it, as we're going to be looking at some documents. Now, if we remember, Australia has been, they are so far up. Artie, get away from her food. What are you doing? No. Shame on you, Artie. Get over here. Sorry, have to shame the dog as he tries to eat the other dog's food. It's not for you. I'll give you a cookie, though. Here. having a bag of cookies around always helps. Now, here, I'll give you 2. Take it upstairs. Take it upstairs, go on. It works every time. There he is, the man of the hour. W. Decker has joined us as well. Good afternoon, Wes. Thanks for sharing this interesting document about what's going on in Australia. And I'm sure you've heard Ross talk about this, is where he got it from. But more importantly, the most interesting thing is Australia has been in a land of denial with regards to UFOs. And I was going to say before I got distracted by the dogs, they are so far up the Nile. They are in Ethiopia. Well, I think that's kind of where the Nile starts, isn't it, up in Ethiopia? I think so.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've always had the denial joke. Got to have some fun with it. Looks like good old Larry has joined in as well. Welcome, Larry. All right. As he gets his mic sorted out, I'm going to start going through this. So, the documents that we've got coming from them, it's not necessarily exactly the best way to present it. There's no way to really scroll up or down the documents. It's basically in a giant window with a magnifying glass that you can zoom in and zoom out, but it's not like you can scroll up or down and everything. It shrinks it down. So coming out of that, I am going to go ahead and get past some of these cursive writing that is worse than a doctor. And, all right, so file closed. All right, here we go. Let's bring up the first document that I'm going to get, and this will take a little bit for me to go ahead and get this capture window set up. Let me shrink it, actually zoom in a bit more. Down, make sure it's big enough so everybody can go ahead and read. So what we're looking here is a Department of Defense document. We know it's old, it's in the past, it's from a regular typewriter, called literally the Scientific and Intelligence Aspects of the UFO Problem. Cool thing about a Mac, everybody, is you can take a picture of something, and then as you are going through it, you can actually highlight it. Can I actually highlight this thing? Now, let me highlight it like this, but we can still select to make it a little bit easier. So what we're talking about here, this is, let's get into this. The 2 documents attached are intended to focus on aspects. Let me make this a little bit larger to make it easier for me as we're going through everything. Put the chat off to the side, and here we go. All right, that have, I'll just put my glasses on, tended to remain hidden. Okay, so the 2 documents attached are intended to focus on the aspects of the UFO problem that have tended to remain hidden. The report dealing with the U.S. attitude has been compiled from official reports and statements made by the CIA, U.S. Air Force. Let's make it over here and just make this a little bit. There we go. U.S. Air Force, congressional hearings, and Project Blue Book records. So we are going back a little in time, but that's all right. The second document deals with evidence for weapon systems used by UFOs. This is the first time we've ever heard anything mention of a weapon system about UFOs. Interesting already. This evidence has been culled from computerized records collected by Dr. Valet in collaboration with Dr. Hynek at Northwestern University, and represents only a fraction of the worldwide reports dealing with the same weapons systems. Holy shit. I got a sound effect for that one.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is getting good. Australia has had its share of this kind of reporting. Great to see that they're trying to come out of the closet on their UFO problem. Intelligence aspects include assessment of real from false reporting, capabilities of propulsion methods, and possible weapons used, motivation of operations, harmful or not, defensive, offensive, scientific, etc., for both short-term and long-term, and whether there are more effective ways to detect these operations or defend them if necessary. This is coming from H.D. Turner of the nuclear branch, dated in the past, 1971, when I would have been 3 years old. But, guys, have you ever heard anything ever mentioned about UFO weapon systems?
Well, and I think it's interesting, too, that you notice that when they categorize those weapon systems, they talk about them as harmful or not, defensive, offensive, or scientific, which means they're considering the fact that some of these things that we may deem weapons could simply be a form of scientific probe or something.
Yes, true. But remember, if you're going to be probing and you're an alien, to stop by Avi Lube. That's a great.
If you'd like to, I can kind of give you the audience a quick high-level summary of what kind of is to follow. But there's a lot of good details.
You're going to.
What's that?
Do we want to fill them in ahead of time, or do we want to go through it?
Well, I was just going to give them a context of what this is covering.
Sure.
From the time period. So it's from 1971 is when this report was written, and I would pay attention as you go through this, because the things that they talk about sound like they could have been taken from the same topics that we've been discussing just recently in this field. So it kind of goes back to what some people have been saying. It's like we've been repeating the same stuff over and over again for the last 75 years.
Right.
And then this is going to do a really cool job of summarizing from the Australians' point of view what the U.S. has been doing since the 1940s all the way up till the 1970s. So it's really, I think, pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Just like me, I'm actually sitting now on top of you. We're calling. Hey, it works. Don't knock it if you don't try it. Let me go ahead and if I can just move that over. Perfect. Now we're out of the way. We can see everything. You're down there. I'm up here. And you guys know who I am. Except if you want to be in the box, there's a link to follow. Okay, so let's get in here now. Coming in, saying summary. The early analysis of UFO reports by USAF intelligence indicates that real phenomena were being reported which had flight characteristics so far in advance of U.S. aircraft that only an extraterrestrial origin could be envisaged. Well, look at this. How long did it take for the U.S. government to get to this part and actually admit it? 2017. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, a government agency which later events indicated to be the CIA Office of Scientific Intelligence. Oh, so it's the CIA. Well, they have OSI. That's the thing. They say it's an Office of Special Intelligence or a Secret Intelligence. This is actually a lot of times when you're hearing about OSI. Artie, they are talking about the Office of Scientific Intelligence. Don't eat her food. I'll feed you in a bit. Okay, study the UFO reports with the intention of determining the UFO propulsion methods. At that time, OSI was responsible for intelligence on foreign research and development in nuclear missiles and matters. Okay. It's not saying that. Okay. They were just looking at matters and everything like that. LM, take it, my friend.
I don't know if you guys remember me telling you about Todos Odorenko. He worked for the CIA and OSI back in 1954 through 1964, and he was the one that shot down Project Blue Book.
Oh, wow.
I think they're going to mention that in here. I don't think they mentioned him by name, but they certainly mentioned what you just talked about.
Yes, absolutely. So the CIA became alarmed at the overloading of military communications during the mass sightings of 1952 and considered the possibility the USSR may take advantage of such a situation. In order, when we're seeing these things, Russia takes advantage of it and spreads it around more and then uses it as a basis for an attack. Interesting to say the least. As a result, OSI, acting through the Robertson panel meeting of mid-January 1953, persuaded the USAF to use Project Blue Book as a mean of publicly debunking UFOs, and at the later stage to allocate funds for the AVRO, Advanced Saucer Aircraft, and end the launching of a crash program into anti-gravity power. to initiate such programs decades ahead of normal scientific development would indicate that the U.S. government acknowledged the existence of advanced aircraft, which presumably used a gravity control method of propulsion. Well, it's not even a gravity control. I guess it is gravity because they're creating a warp field, a gravity around their craft that separates them out of our time, space, and space-time. And let's get over to here and move the cursor. An additional motivation could have been the fear that the USSR would achieve this goal before the U.S. and hence the over-secrecy handled by the Pentagon. While we could have been doing proper scientific investigation and research onto this, we had our government go ahead and lock it down, saying, oh my God, Russia could get this before us, coming from the military heads that control everything in this situation. Sad. Let's move on. 3. By erecting a facade, let me move that up. Here we go. By erecting a facade of ridicule, the U.S. hoped to ally public alarm, reduce the possibility of Soviets take advantage of mass USO sightings for either psychological or actual warfare purposes. LM says this was during the Brigade General's Chadwell's. You can always jump in on this if you want to, LM. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch again. This was exactly what they're talking about. They know about it. This was during when Todos Odorenko was the head of OSI CIA scientific and technology research, and he reported directly to Brigadier General Chadwell under the USAF.
Yeah, absolutely interesting to say the least. Okay, and act as a cover for the U.S. real program of developing vehicles that emulate UFO performance. Okay, so here we've got right now for the U.S. program of developing vehicles that emulate UFO performance. Do we hear something on the edge of UFO crash retrieval reverse engineering programs going on in 1971? I think so. Now, the RAAF. Now, was that Australian or is that United Kingdom?
Yeah, that's the Royal Army Air Force, I think.
Gotcha. Together with many other countries of the world.
Oh, yeah, Royal Australian Air Force. Sorry,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With many other countries of the world, give credence only to the USAF public facade and appear to have uncritically accepted the associated information. This information has been widely discredited by retiring U.S. service personnel formerly engaged on UFO investigations, as well as by scientists and private citizens. Bottom of the document, the conclusion of the Condon report conflicts with its own contents and has been discredited by many reputable scientists, including the UFO Scientific Consult to the USAF. In accordance, and you can see that at the bottom of the document, it does say National Archives of Australia, and that's exactly where I'm getting these documents from. Let me go grab the next page. Bring it up for us to check out. Yeah, and I will go ahead and create a PDF out of all these documents when I'm done, so everyone can take and enjoy this at home.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Got to the top. Now, where was I? With the recommendations of the Condon report. So the scientific community did not agree with the Condon report. Now, Project Blue Book was terminated, but presumably this would have little effect on the main program of reverse engineering UFOs, as they just said. It would appear wrong for Australia to remain ignorant of the true situation. While they may not be ignorant on anything about UFOs, they're unwilling to say anything about them as recently as in the last couple months when we've seen people send requests for information and they get basically, you're not going to give you anything. We lack an intelligence, viewpoint that can assess the nature and possible consequences of the problem. a scientific viewpoint that could derive scientifically valid data from the reports, and a public relations viewpoint that can be honestly satisfy public interest. Well, they certainly did not do that either. They just deny. To overcome these deficiencies in the Australian investigation of UFOs, it would seem that a strong case exists for the acceptance of the RAAF suggestion that another government department assumes responsibility for the investigation and analysis of UFO reports. Interesting, to say the least, so far. Any thoughts, guys, as I try to fix my back? Here we go.
I got one thought, Thomas. There is another document called, what's it called? Project Aquarius.
Right.
And in Aquarius, they say that, I'm looking at my...
We're in the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius. Yes.
And in that document, they state very clearly that Project Blue Book was terminated on purpose in order to go underground with the same type of investigation, but a real one. And that the Blue Book should remain as a sort of a cover.
Right. So take it, make it secret, put it under, under the covers, keep on doing their stuff. But as far as the public is concerned, we're not doing anything on this. We're not researching on this. Like when it was asked in our only hearing that we've had on this in 50 years, which was middle of last year, when they came out and they said, have there been any other programs that have been going on since Blue Book? And their answer was, I'm not aware of anything. Not that they know about, it all comes down to the vernacular of the exact words they use. So the U.S. official attitude to UFOs. Oh, would you look at this? We're starting off in June in 1947. The Air Technical Intelligence Center, also known as ATIC, near Dayton, Ohio. Oh, Dayton, Ohio, LM. Isn't that where Monsanto's from?
That's where a lot of things are.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're talking about Monsanto Central Research Department was in Dayton, Ohio. Yes,
yeah.
Right there next to Wright-Patterson, but separate. And just so that our audience knows, that's what was the guy who was investigating Monsanto that wound up with cancer, the polonium, and
that was Kenny Young.
Kenny Young. He was researching that site and came down with leukemia shortly after.
Yep. A sad death of a great UFO researcher who has, I think we're the only live stream, or there's not a lot of people who are even digging into Monsanto. And when this was one of the biggest things that Lou said, look here, there's something there. Absolutely, and that wasn't a personal call with me before he said it everywhere else.
Absolutely, there is. Monsanto has their fingers in a lot of things. Including all of the PBVA plastics and the DDT and all that. Monsanto's huge in it.
I know.
During this time.
Absolutely. So back to it. In 1947, we're talking about the Air Technical Intelligence Center in Dayton, Ohio, assumed the responsibility to investigate the initial reports of flying saucers. Within a month, it was considered that the phenomena was real and probably of Soviet origin. By the end of the year, when ATIC was officially authorized to investigate under the project of codename of Sign, with a high priority, most of the investigations were focused on interplanetary rather than a Soviet origin. So there we go. Later in the year, by the end of 1947, we already had our government saying that we're looking at something not from here, meaning not from humanity. Well, it could be from here. It may have originated someplace else, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years before humans were ever on the planet. LM? Oh, who has their hand up? I can't see. I think it's LM.
I also wanted to add Project Aquarius. Thank you for bringing that up, Larry. We also want to look at 1946 with Project Diana. That's an important one too. That's when they bounced a huge, massive radar off of the moon. And
gotcha.
yeah,
I was thinking it would involve someone with Paparazzi tracing down someone in a car, but ooh, it's a bad one. Rest her soul. These opinions were crystallized into a written estimate that was sent to the Pentagon in September of 1948, when the interplanetary conclusion was rejected on the grounds of insufficient hard evidence, meaning we have not been there, so how could you say that? A reaction set in at ATIC against trying to unravel the UFO problem. So there you go. Already, by September 1948, we already have the Pentagon pushing back and trying to, stop anybody from truly looking into the reality of where these things are coming from. So, in February 1949, ATIC personnel on Project Sign were replaced with new personnel to form Project Grudge. Why take all the people who were on the prior project, who have all this knowledge and experience? Get rid of them all. They came up with the truth. We don't want them. We need people to come out here and truly want to bury the topic. A definite attempt was made during 1949 to use Project Grudge to destroy any acceptance of UFOs. There you go. The motives of this are not clear. Well, they're clear to us. These days, in 2023, the motives, are not clear. Possibly Air Force embarrassment, that being incapable of controlling the situation, and or a fear of national panic prompted by USAF to try and remove the problem by denying its existence. Remember, we've also heard that a lot of people in the Pentagon don't see this as aliens. They see it as demons, as demonic, as religious based, and they don't want to have anything to do with that. Why would you have something flying around in your skies, going everywhere, and trying to stop your people from doing proper research and just throw everybody into denial? Well, that project may have been a focus on denial, but you damn well know they didn't, under the covers, they're going full steam on reverse engineering and whatever else they can do to possibly figure this out and to throw off any people, including the Soviet Union at that time, from wanting to go down that rabbit hole again. So the people in the United States and the world, sounds like we're just dealing with the United States government being overly cautious and wanting to keep everything for themselves. Another possible motive may have been to provide a breathing space for another investigative agency. I didn't read that, but there we go. To reach some conclusion. But the agency had been assisting ATIC through 1948 and, contrary to official USAF policy, was maintaining a high level of interest during 1949. This governmental agency was not the FBI and had rocket, nuclear, and intelligence experts. Their purpose was to study UFO reports in an effort to gather design data on interplanetary spaceships. In light of latter developments, this agency was almost certainly the CIA. Now, does this put the CIA down into the spot maybe of being the Men in Black? We don't know. We'll find out. Isn't the CIA only supposed to be working off the shores of the United States? I think so.
And remember, the CIA was just getting started at this time.
Yeah.
Yes, they were, but you have to understand, this is why I bring up Todos Odorenko and where he came from. The CIA was actually born out of a black project from the U.S. Army Signal Corps. It was already in existence. It was just made legitimate in 1947 when Truman founded them. Yeah. So the origin of the CIA came from the U.S. Army Signal Corps, and I have that in research. It's fact. It's proven. Yeah,
absolutely. This is a freaking amazing. This blows any of our U.S. declassified documents out of the water so far. Honestly, I love it. This is
it really does.
Yeah. Point 3. Project.
Hey, Thomas,
yes, sir.
Thomas, real quick, can we get your video in the Google?
Oh, I'm sorry, but it's not. It should be. Hold on. see what you're not getting in Google right now. I know why. Let me give me a second here. Settings. That doesn't show me here video. That's why. Yeah. It always. We'll laugh at this one. OBS virtual camera. Oh yeah. Let's see if it goes. Let's see if I can do this.
There it is.
There we go. Oh, you got me good. But you guys are gonna have some fun in the background. Okay, here we go.
I think what's important here is
did
that
it freeze?
some people might question the validity of what we're looking at here. I do not at all, because it lines up with everything that I've been researching.
Right.
Hey, if you look at the very top of the document, UFO is spelled U period F period O period. That's all I need to know right there.
Yes, it does, Larry. Yes, it does.
And this is coming straight from the National Archives of Australia's website.
Yeah. Oh, phenomenal stuff. Yes, you're going to be seeing everybody's picture in the back room with the Shook lens on today. We're having some fun. Project Grudge failed to eliminate the UFO problem. UFO reports in 1949 actually exceeded the number in 1948, and several people who had gained access to earlier official reports were able to contradict the USAF. Journalists generally felt that Grudge reporting represented a cover to more serious knowledge. Eventually, USAF intelligence decided that a fresh approach to the problem was necessary. So between September 1951 and the establishment of Project Blue Book in March of 1952, UFO investigations regained adequate financial and administrative support to once again analyze and collect data. The Project Blue Book was able to process their data from 3,200 reports into a form suitable for their consultants to be able to use IBM card, probably punch card. Get to the next one. Okay, here we go.
It's also important to note here that Blue Book started in 52, and according to my research, it was stonewalled and shut down in 54 by the CIA and OSI, but yet they continued Project Blue Book all the way through to what was it, 1969? Yeah. So they wasted everybody's time from 1954 to 1969.
Yeah. Mr. Crypto. All right, Mike has just joined the back audience as well. Welcome, Mike. So we talk about using IBM card punch sorting machines. So number 4, the summer of 1952 saw more than a 20-fold rise in the normal rate of reporting and included 2 extensive July sightings involving Washington, D.C. This marked an increase in sightings that had diverse effects. Now remember, this is amazing. Right after they start a Project Blue Book, right, to go for the investigations of there. Right after it, massive sighting goes over Washington, D.C. You know what that shows? They're watching us closely in more ways that we can possibly resist. Okay, you guys want to look for us? Hey, look, here we are. Right? You need some sightings to go and conclude that it's real? And it happened. So
that's a very interesting point, Thomas. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
They actually stepped up, just kind of like what we're seeing now, where there's denial all over, but the UFO reports keep increasing. I love it.
I know I love it as well. It's great to see where this is going to go. Yeah, it's great to have video proof of something happening in the Gulf uploaded. We'll be putting more up soon. Thank you, Eyes Wide Open. Appreciate that. Let's continue on. So a component of USAF intelligence considered that UFOs were interplanetary spaceships which were about to make closer contact. To prepare the public for this possibility, 41 previously classified reports were released for publication between August. Mike, can you mute when you're not talking? Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
Between August 1952 and February 1953. These reports contradicted the earlier official USAF policy of dismissing the reports as misidentifications, etc. Basically, Mick West. On the other hand, the CIA regarded the summer UFO activity as a threat to national security, mainly because the resulting crowded communications and defense forces involvement lessened the level of national alertness against possible enemy attack. So that's a good reason to shut it down. My God, it's taking our attention away from that the Russians could be getting ready to go ahead and attack us. For anyone who is joining late to the game, we are going through some phenomenal documents that were declassified from Australia. It's giving us an unbelievable insight into what's going on. Yeah, I can't explain it as much, but go back to the start when you get a chance. Go be a part of Team Rewatch this, and I'll put together a PDF and I'll share it out on the channel in a regular post. So keep an eye for that, and I'll get this PDF out to people as soon as I can create it. All right. So where was I? All right. Possible enemy attack. So,
Hey, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
One more thing. We're getting your filter, your comical filter.
I know.
Oh, okay.
The audience isn't seeing it. You guys are seeing it.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
Okay, here we go. I'll make us all crying then. Is this better? I don't like the UFO report. I'm gonna have some.
Thank you.
Not a problem, my friend. It's still working, thank God. Turn that off. There you go, Larry. No more shook face for you. Okay, so let me just go into here and I'll just shut that down for the time being. Settings, I want to go to, not there, and get the video, snap camera. You can just take it directly from OBS. There you go, perfect. And let me quit out snap for the time being, open up some CPU bandwidth. All right, not that I need to. So number 5, a scientific, come on, you can do it. You can do it. A scientific panel chaired by H.P. Robertson was convened by the Office of Scientific Intelligence of the CIA during mid-January 1953 for purposes of recommending future action of the UFO problem. Briefings were made by both CIA and USAF. ATIC personnel showed the then classified 2 movie films of UFOs and early results of statistical analysis of 3,200 reports. Ding! Raise my hand on this one. Have we ever seen this movie? Any of us?
Nope.
And imagine the sheer volume there. We're talking from probably prior to 1947, but let's talk 1945 to 1953. They have 3,200 credible reports to put in a video.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Moving Cupcake to a different bed for her to sleep a little bit more comfy.
What's fascinating is later on in the report too, they actually analyze the statistical do a statistical analysis of how reliable reports are, and it's much more skewed in favor of the reports being reliable than what we typically hear. Only like 10% of reports can be trusted. The real data is strikingly much more in favor of majority of reports being highly reliable.
And what's also interesting, and I've shared this with Thomas, and I buried it in a whole bunch of stuff that I sent him. I actually have a document that is roughly 900 pages that involves the vast majority of the credible reports, all of them that were put forth during this time.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, Lee is an exceptional researcher. Holy cow! As Andy would say, yeah, the amount of work he puts together. How the heck do you do it?
I honestly, when there's a will, there's a way. And, and I've always had the ability to be able to look at information and glean very specific keywords, because we all know the internet likes to be scrubbed.
Yeah.
And the way that you find certain things is that you have to hit specific keywords. So you have to actually read documents and then go and cross-reference specific things to find what you're looking for. We all know this, but I've gotten really efficient at that. That's how I'm able to find stuff really fast.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm going to quickly chip in as well. I just want to ask Ellen, do you actually sleep?
Of course I do.
Good.
Of course I do. I live normal lives just like everybody else. I'm not. Yeah, I'm good. I just I'm very motivated, and I've picked up on some very specific ways of how to find things via research papers, and I've studied extensively how they built this system. So it's helped me to understand what to look for.
Gotcha.
And just one more quick question, if you don't mind. Are you really Chat GPT 4?
I am not. I am not. I'd love to meet you in Austin on the 25th and 26th, and we can have we can go out and have a beer and talk about all of it.
Nice.
Oh, cool. You have a robotic body as well. This will be awesome.
Yeah. There we go. Let's start
No,
floating.
that's awesome, man.
Let's levitate and move forward on this report. Because of the vital issues involved, the panel felt restricted to recommending that the investigation be continued. But with increased personnel and equipment, the USAF responded promptly with an instruction to comply with these recommendations. Don't want to do it? You've got the money. You're going to do it. Sounds like what we're dealing with today. Oh, no. We're not going to do this. We're going to push it off. Oh, that's right. Congressional mandates. We have to. Fuck. The CIA, however, in a report dated 16 February 1953, showed a preference to publicly abandon the investigation whilst intensifying the collection of data. By September 1953, the CIA position had been largely achieved with Project Blue Book, reduced from a staff of 10 qualified personnel operating at a top secret level to a virtually inactive project involving one airman. That's a way to shut it down. The investigating component had been transferred to the 4602 or 4602 second or 460 second Air Intelligence Services Squadron, which was trained in rapid intelligence procurement and reported to Air Defense Command and USAF Intelligence, Washington, rather than Blue Book. Direct access between the 4602nd and AISS and all of USAF units was authorized by AFR 200-2, whereas previously this privilege had been given to Blue Book, although only the Airmen First Class remained in September 1943. Now they're Airmen First Class. You know what that means? They don't have top secret security clearance, do they? Probably not. Blue Book was later built up to one officer, one sergeant, one secretary, and a part-time consultant. Interesting.
Sounds like today.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when they brought in Aro, when the DOD was supposed to go ahead and staff it up, what did they have? They had a position for a leader and 2 other people. That was it, and that's what I think. What we're still dealing with.
They have a playbook that they've been following since they first got whiff of this and started seriously investigating it. And we are now 70 plus years later, and they're still following the same playbook.
Yeah, Anthony, do us a favor. Keep the chat relevant. We don't need to know about Mr. Pillow.
One of the things I think is just remarkable about this is, right now we're only up to, still in the beginnings in the 50s of what the government was up to. And look how much effort they both put into things and wasted just to keep things a secret. And then secondly, isn't it remarkable that this topic is important enough that the Australian Air Force commissioned someone in their ranks to spend all this time doing this detailed research and then compiling this report? I mean, that says something.
Yeah,
absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. I mean, and when the CIA is spanning the globe, they were trying to protect their own assets from the disinformation that the CIA was spitting out. That's why they put this time into it. And like I said,
think that's right.
Yeah, like I said again, Blue Book carried on for roughly another at least 13 years on a farce. And I mean, put it into perspective, they're following the same playbook. How much longer, I don't mean to be conspiratory, but I'm saying, like, how much longer are we going to listen to Aro? because they've already made their decision. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Good way to put it. Well, we have to become a majority of people who get this and not a minority. And the more people we can put pressure on, you know what we need to do? Actually, I was going to say this on a tweet last night, but we need to figure out how. If Tim Burchett in the House of Representatives is trying to raise his hand and the speaker refuses to go ahead and recognize him, we need to start putting pressure on the new Speaker of the House, Mr. McCarthy. We need to take it up as high as we need to. He wants to talk about government cover-ups and everything. This blows the Biden files out of the water.
Burchett needs help because he's going to get shot down.
Yeah.
So regardless of political leanings, throw that aside. We have to look at what we're trying to achieve. And you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to like his family, the way he looks, what political leanings he has. He is one of the only that is standing up to it. And he's getting, and now, as of 3 days ago, he's being flat stonewalled within his own Congress.
Right. And here, you nailed it down. Burchett may have some things that you like, some things that you hate, but you got to remember, for what he's trying to do for bringing this stuff forward, we need to support him as much as we can. We need to look beyond partisan politics, partisan agendas. We need to look of who are the allies on this that we can push forward and try and lift this topic up. Absolutely. Let me continue on with this document. Dr. J. Allen Hynek stayed at about this level until it was closed down in December 1969. During the time, Blue Book served mainly as a means of supplying unclassified summaries of UFO identifications to the public and did not form a vital link in collection or serious analysis. Just so the audience knows, this is the first time I'm seeing this too, so I am as blown away as you are, Sam. Absolutely. Let's move on in this document. So number 7, control of public awareness. Control of public awareness of the UFO situation was tightened by issuing of JANAP 146 in 1953, which prohibited service personnel from discussing UFOs by threatening defaulters with up to 10 years GAOL, that's prison, and up to a $10,000 fine. This lines up.
I said this one was news to me. I'd always thought there was sort of an indirect threat, but I didn't realize that actually had a law basically in play that would fine and give jail time to service members who tried to talk.
Yeah, we'll get to you in 1 second, Andy. I want to respond to that one. This came to me from, 15, 20 feet that way, right in my garage, talking with my former brother-in-law, AJ, about the situation. I heard about the Nimitz event in, when was that? January 2005, when he was here visiting on leave. I've known about it since that period of time. And he mentioned that $10,000 fine. He mentioned about prison, but he also mentioned that he would lose his retirement. So
exactly. It's court-martial. It's loss of pension. It's everything. Yeah.
You're out on the street sleeping under the bridge
in a cardboard box. Yeah,
correct. With no VA benefit.
Oh, but you know what? They're not sleeping underneath the bridge anymore. They're camping on the sidewalks.
This is true.
Yeah,
I lived in Austin. This happens.
Oh, this happens in Seattle. It's horrible down in Portland. It's everywhere. And just they got rid of the drug problem, the problem would go away. I understand when there's people who are homeless because they can't afford stuff, a job because they can't do stuff. We're just dealing with an overpopulation of drug abusers, unfortunately. And it's all caused by the federal government. Get a whole bunch of people hooked on painkillers and then cut them all off instantly. What are they going to do? They'll turn to illegal sources, and it just spiraled out of control. So when service personnel resigned or retired, however, so this is, it was possible to reveal USAF attitudes or opinions, even if the actual data was still restricted. In this way, many intelligence officers associated with the UFO problem, including Major D. Fournette, who was Project Blue Book project officer at the Pentagon until late 1952, Captain E. Ruppelt, who headed the Project Grudge and Project Blue Book until September 1953, and Admiral Hillenkoetter, who directed the CIA from its inception until October 1950. On retiring from the service, all publicly stated that the U.S. government knew UFOs were extraterrestrial, but was withholding holding this fact. Wow, we've got some people's names and stories to frickin' go ahead and research here, everybody. Holy cow.
Yeah, that is a great sentence right there.
I am going to take that, and I am going to see if I can paste this in the chat so I am not going to lose it. Where is the chat again? I know
In
it's
fact,
out
do you
there.
know that there are like 3 or 4, I believe, former CIA directors who've all, upon leaving the CIA, tried to bring this to the public's attention.
Yeah. Wow. Some people we need to go ahead and look for. Absolutely. So let's move on. When the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, also known as NICAP, was formed in 1956 to counter the publicly suppressed USAF investigations of UFOs. If you remember, the one guy who was like a researcher and everything, who was in the X-Files, one of the guys, he wore a NICAP baseball cap. You were on to this back then. All right. Okay. The first chairman was Admiral D.S. Farney, who had directed the Navy's guided missile program from its inception. Apart from Admiral, Hillenkoetter, Major Kehoe, and Major Fournette, other directors have included Rear Admiral H.B. Knowles, General A. Weidmeyer, and Colonel J.J. Bryan, who was a special assistant to the Secretary of the Air Force. To reduce the effect of these similar defections from the official policy after retirement, the revised JNAP 146E, passed in 1960, made an offense under the Espionage Act if data on UFOs was revealed. Here's the thing. That's when I see a lot of stuff that we get from stories from some people who used to be in the military at times, and they come forward and they talk about all these great, amazing things, or the CIA, or wherever they're at. Espionage Act, folks. Espionage Act. If they're bringing out stuff that is really poignant on the ball, where are they going to go? They're going to go to prison. So, again, when you hear a lot of people talking about stuff, you just have to contain it, remain to the center. You can go and eat, go to the endless spaghetti buffet, like Lou, and take it all down, but just take it with a grain of salt. Add it to your wealth of information, and as we progress through this level of disclosure, we will all figure it out. All right, let's move on. Wait, scrolling the wrong place.
So
Real quick, you also have to understand why they were so heavily embedded into this. When we talk about Dayton and Monsanto Research or Central Research Department, for the audience, and we'll have to cross back on this, there was a Soviet spy named George Koval that had infiltrated the Monsanto Central Research Department back in the 50s that led to this. This isn't just them being unjustly punishing towards these acts and these laws. They had a Soviet spy that got into every top secret thing that they were doing, and the Russians were absolutely 100% cognizant of what they were doing through that period of time.
Yep, gotcha.
Yes.
Where is that
Thomas, very quickly before we move on, I've just put a link in the chat to what the PDF document for this JANAP 146, if people want to find out what that is.
Is that
What's the purpose of this document? This is an outline of the plan that they had to suppress the information back in the 50s?
No, so what this is this is an assessment by the Australian Air Force, basically looking into what the U.S. has been doing, because they were concerned about the, I believe, the fact that they were not being, they're getting mixed signals.
Yes.
And so they needed to do an assessment. And then they even later on in the document analyzed their own efforts and determined that within the Royal Air Force, they were also doing things to cover things up.
Right, but it looks to me like this PDF is verbatim of what the U.S. and Canadian government was involved with during this time frame. How did Australia access this document?
This is their document.
Australia wrote this document. They have their
Australia,
intelligence.
Mike, Australia created this for their own internal understanding because they realized the threat at this point was actually coming from the United States CIA.
Yeah.
So this is an intelligence assessment by the Royal Australian Air Force for their own internal discussions.
Yep.
But it seems to me, because I'm reading it, it seems to me like it's not Australia talking about this, at least the language in the PDF.
Yeah.
It seems like they're regurgitating or repeating what was going on with this original report.
Yeah, this is a history lesson.
Go ahead and continue on to the audience and say, let's move on. I want to hear more. And we can debate about the subject of where it comes after we get through this and a little bit more. So let's move on. There's a lot of stuff here to cover, folks. All right.
I'm with you. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, not a problem, buddy. The change in style of USAF reporting before and after the Robertson panel meeting is clearly indicated in the Project Blue Book Special Report number 14. The body of the report prepared between March 1952 and early 1953, although biased in favor of natural explanations for UFOs, also known as swamp gas, nevertheless showed mathematically that the evidence favored an explanation that was scientifically unknown. This section of the 316-page report was not released to the public, other than a copy to be consulted, assuming that the reader knew of. Let me get on to our next page here. We're only on page 4. This is like 50 pages long. But it's worth every minute. We may not be able to get through even all this today, but holy cow. Let's continue on as Cupcake is up. It's exists for people who know its existence. So, public distribution was made, however, a so-called summary, which did in fact not summarize nor scarcely allude to the 1947 to 1952 data, but concentrated on 1935 to 1955 reporting, which was clearly designed to reduce the residual unknowns to an insignificant number, no matter how senseless the identification became. Boy, it sounds like we're repeating the same stuff again, doesn't it?
Doesn't it sound like a report we just got a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
I also noticed they mentioned 1935. That was the whole post.
53.
No, 1953. He read that wrong.
Sorry.
Okay.
Did I transpose that? Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Guys. Oh my God, I did it again. My dyslexia. 10. Within, and I've only had, this is my second cup of coffee. So within the body of the difficult to obtain report, there is an interesting diagram. The product of the estimated observer reliability and the reported reliability became sighting reliability. The percentage of reports that had to be registered as unknown, i.e. incapable of being even approximately identified as a known object, increased as the sighting reliability improved. Conversely, the percentage listed as insufficient information decreased with improving reliability. So I believe this is what they're talking about, where we look at sighting reliability, the number of reports, percent of unknown, insufficient information. If we go down to the bottom where it says excellent, they had 213 reports. Unknown was 33%, with only 4.2% being insufficient information. Interesting is go ahead.
I was going to say, this is that chart that I was talking about that I found so interesting, because the typical thing we hear is that only 10% of reports, can probably be considered truly unknowns, and the 90% are just going to be, people misidentifying. What this shows is something completely different. It's showing that out of the number of reports, they classified 33% of those to be excellent, and only have 4.2% insufficient information. So that shows a way higher bar for trusting what people are saying, versus what the kind of rule of thumb that we hear bandied about in public spheres is.
Yeah, Wes, that's such a great point. And it's great for me because I always suspected as much, but I could never prove it. I always hated this number. 99% of it's just, nonsense.
I'm getting coffee. Be right back, guys. Keep it going.
Maybe 1% is real. If people are going to make a report, it's probably because they can tell that this is not human made.
Exactly. And that's just, when we look at these numbers, that 33% is the excellent category. There's still the good category below that, that's 24%. So if you just focused on only those two, that brings the reporting up to nearly, over 57%, 58% almost, that are considered probably pretty good, reliable unknowns. That's huge.
It is.
And what's funny too is in the next paragraph, they'll start to mention how reliable is the report information where the report said that they had figured out what it was. And you'll find that the problem isn't in the reliability of the eyewitnesses. The problem is in the reliability of the so-called debunkers who come through and assign things like Venus as the probable cause. And then when they went through and checked to see how often Venus was in the right spot in the sky for that to even be possible, it was like a very small percentage. In other words, the debunking reports were making stuff up, and the actual eyewitness reports were highly reliable.
It's just flipped, isn't it? It's just crazy.
Exactly.
So, Andy, this PDF that Thomas is reading, that's what you sent the link to in the chat?
No. I've sent a link to where he read out about this. Hang on, the Janap 146.
I'll put the link to the report for you in the chat, or everybody. Just give me a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wes.
It's, where Thomas read out Janap 146. I had a quick look up of it, and that's a PDF. If people want to find out what Janap 146 is.
Yep. Interesting to say the least. Thank you very much, guys. I just had to get myself a cup of coffee. I only had 2, and I usually will keep it coming all day. Okay, let's move on. Great conversation, guys. Unbelievable document. Let's see where we can get on this. Number 11. Throughout the years of the UFO phenomenon, there has been a persistent form of official pronouncement which state that the percentage of unknowns would be reduced if more data were available. The above table, which was here, let's move it down here so you can see it a little bit. Okay. Would only be reduced if reliable. Okay. The above table, come on, let me select. The above table contradicts that statement. Reports of excellent reliability generally stem from astronomers, pilots, scientists, surveyors, meteorologists, radar operators, etc., complete with the instrumented values and accurately detailed accounts. Oh, remember if you guys saw last night's show, we went through the new Enigma labs and what they're having for their UFO assessment, and being able, if you've seen a UFO and you're reporting it, this kind of sounds like that reporting. But if you notice, the number of boxes to check has been greatly reduced from what they were doing in the past, trying to reduce the amount of credible reports down to a very, very small amount.
You're right. I mean, they're almost the exact same categories in their check boxes.
Except we don't have scientists, we don't have surveyors, we don't have meteorologists, we don't have radar operators.
They did have scientists on there, I noticed, but you're right. They didn't have the meteorologists or surveyors or radar operators.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Good
LM?
catch.
Yeah. LM?
So give me just a second. I have to access something when we're talking about Enigma Labs. So the venture capitalist that is behind Enigma Labs is Alice Lloyd George. She's on Twitter. She's responded to a couple of things. She was originally her Rogue Capital Partners LP is what was behind Enigma Labs, and that was funded by David Letvich of Andreessen and Albert Wegner of USV. These guys are heavily funded into startup venture capitalists. Together jointly, they started up PayPal, Twitter. The list goes on and on. All you have to do is research them. So when we say Enigma Labs, we might as well say all social media and banking, period, is behind Enigma Labs. So why is NASA and Avi Loeb and Susan Go, why did they have this meeting the other day, and who is Enigma Labs? We need to dig into that, because they are, everybody wants to know who their financiers are, and I've found who it is.
Interesting, to say the least. Something we do have. Yeah, we're definitely have to jump into that one when you're ready for it, LM. Just name the date and we'll clear the slate. So throughout the years of the UFO phenomenon, there has been a persistent form of official pronouncements which state that the percentage of unknowns would be reduced if more data were available. Now remember, this isn't coming from a ufologist. This isn't coming from a spectator. This isn't coming from an experiencer. This is coming from the Australian government. So this takes up the credibility of what they're saying and raises it to a very top shelf level. The above table contradicts that statement. Reports of excellent reliability generally stem from, okay, we already got that part, sorry. The introduction of good, reliable reporting prevents the readily prosaic interpretation. In all probability, the overall average percentage of unknowns, 19.7%, would have been substantially increased if the data had been more reliable. 12. Project Blue Book consultants statistically tested the unknown object population to determine the likelihood that it was similar to the population of identified objects, and found that the probability was less than 1 in 10 to the 28 power. Really? I.e., using the American. Let me get to the next page. Click. Wait for it to show up. Do a screen capture. Put it together. Kaboom. All right, here we go. Zoom it up.
This
Boom,
is
boom.
huge. What they're saying is there is no statistical possibility that these unknown objects match real objects.
Yeah.
Or known objects.
Yeah, the odds were 10,000 trillion to 1 against the unknowns being the same as the knowns. You hear that? 10,000 trillion to 1.
Take that, McWest.
Yeah. Here, let me give you something on a plate and you can have that instead. Since the consultants had, because that's what it sounds like a majority of your work is. Try X-Lax, it may work better for you. Since the consultants had arbitrarily called all green fireballs and short duration, less than 5 seconds, nighttime sightings as known astronomical objects, there was an undue preponderance in that category. Hence, assuming that no astronomical objects were left in the unknowns, the statistical tests were repeated with astronomers' identification removed. Oh, they don't know what they're seeing. Take it out. The odds were then reduced to 10 trillion to 1. The analysts could not find any way to reduce these odds sufficiently to further warrant additional testing, and irrationally considered the results to be inconclusive. Number 13. While Project Blue Book endeavored to reduce the official number of unknowns in 1957, they claimed only 14 out of 1,006 sightings remained unidentified. The covert program expanded considerably. The government agency, most certainly the CIA, that had been collecting data on UFO performance and propulsion methods during 1948 to 1952, presumably influence U.S. government funding of certain advanced projects. Oh, like reverse engineering or genetic examination or whatever they were looking into in the life forms they got their hands on. One project was the Canadian Avro saucer. A drawing of the saucer released in October 1955 showed a typical flying disc described in many UFO reports. The Secretary of the Air Force, D.A. Quarles, appeared moderately confident that such a vehicle would be successfully developed by the U.S. But didn't that thing fly with a big fan?
Yeah, it was a lame attempt.
Let's put a helicopter blade inside of a thing and put a guy on it, and let's see if we can make it fly. Basically. So, 14. A more astounding decision on part of the U.S. government was to allocate considerable funds to investigate gravity and a means of controlling gravity. Oh, so they could put this off in little research projects, LM, and be able to spread it across our scientific community and split apart the big picture in a compartmentalized bunch of research that doesn't really tie back to the phenomena.
Oh, Thomas, it gets even better. They outline all of the different scientists and the different labs that got the money, so that it gives us lots of ways to go and do more research.
Yeah.
These Australians were good.
Exactly what they did, and it's part of how we have to look at this problem to find the data before the data gets locked down where we can't find it.
Yeah. I say this document is blowing me away the further we get into it. Holy. Did we know when this was declassified, West?
I do not know that. I just know that it was produced in 1971.
Okay. So despite the fact that science had not attained a level of competence to deal with either gravity or anti-gravity problems, and the only theory that might be applicable was Einstein's unified field theory, which was still incomplete at the time of his death. Maybe he didn't want to make it complete. Remember, he didn't want to know about this stuff.
Yeah, remember what you found last night?
Yeah. The letter from him?
Yeah, that letter from him that says, I don't want to know.
That's right. And that letter was dated in 1952, and I have no doubt that the CIA got to Albert Einstein.
Of course they did. Yeah. My God, incomplete at his death, the U.S. chose to support 6 universities. Joseph Syracuse is coming into the back. Let me keep on reading here, Joseph, before we get to it. 6 universities and government agencies in an all-out drive to conquer the problem. It is significant that at this time, the current theories on UFO propulsion were a mixture of gravity control and electromagnetic propulsion. Well, they know now, and what they're basically saying is these crafts create a gravitational warp field around their craft that separates them from time, space, and space-time. So they're here, but they're not here in our time space. We can see them, but what's inside of that is separate from us. Amazing stuff of where we're heading. If any of you have never checked out UAPtheory.com, please check it out. It's a phenomenal site. Both Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon and many others have said that guy is on the ball for his assessment of what we are truly dealing with. Again, UAPtheory.com, UAPtheory.com. Larry, did you have something to say or no?
Oh, I was just going to mention, Thomas, that Bob Lazar, when he was describing what they found in the reverse engineering process, there was one incident where he said that they were able to turn this thing on. I don't know, what kind of switch it at or anything, but they were looking at a candle flame, and when they put this flame in the area of the gravity propulsion engine, it froze, and he could not understand that because it was still emitting light, but it was not wavering. And that just blows my mind. It blew his mind too. Yeah. He has no explanation for how that could possibly work.
Interesting, very interesting to say the least. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
go ahead,
Larry. to further on that real quick, Albert Einstein claimed that his theory of gravity of general relativity came after he was staring into a gas lantern with a flame and started thinking about how that was working. That's just an odd connection there, that he was looking into the flame, and then they put a flame in front of that, and physical properties started to defy what we see. And that's essentially what Albert Einstein was imagining and thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are saying please put it into the chat. The link was already put into the chat by Zenzabil. Just scroll up a little bit in your chat, and it is right there for UAPtheory.com. Let me go ahead and continue. So, during 1953, because of insufficient space from the chat, insufficient staff could be recruited for the project, recourse was made to an urgent appeal from theoretical physicists and mathematicians from AERE Harwell, United Kingdom. Oh, pretty close to you guys. The 6 gravity research centers being established here at the Institute for Advanced Study of Princeton, New Jersey. Princeton University, University of, let me get the next page. There we go. Bring it up larger again. There we go. University of Indiana, Purdue University Research Foundation, University of North Carolina, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, also known as MIT, through the Robert Babson Gravity Research Institute, New Boston, New Hampshire. The later institute is a nonprofit organization funded in 1949 with George M. Rideout as president. It was believed that to make a gravity motor, a gravity differential was required, which necessitated the discovery of an insulator, deflector, or absorber of gravity. By 1955, 485 essays have been written on this subject, and awards totaling $10,800 made for Kringle. Original, not Kringle. I think it's Kringle here. Not Santa Claus. Original contributions. That's not a lot of money back then. I guess it was, but yeah.
Isn't it amazing, again, the detail that these Australians went to really flesh out this report?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a phenomenal report just to read through it and go through it in the whole bit. Holy cow, where are we at time-wise? All right. 16, the scientists involved, Teller from University of California, Oppenheimer and F.J. Dyson of the Institute of Advanced Studies, J.A. Wheeler and Richard Arnowit of Princeton, Vaclav Havlete of University of Indiana, who had worked with Einstein in Prague, and Stanley Desser of his own accord. The objective was to control gravity. During 1955, the following firms entered into gravity or electromagnetic programs. Glenn L. Martin Aviation Company, which I believe was Martin. Who did Martin?
Which became Lockheed Martin.
Yep, it did.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Glenn L. Martin of Lockheed Martin, specifically Dr. Bern Harn from Gothenburg University, and Dr. P. Jordan from Hamburger University in Germany. Convar of San Diego, Bell Aircraft of Buffalo, Sikorsky Division, Lear of Santa Monica, Clark Electronics of Palm Springs, California, and Sperry Gyroscope Division of Great Neck, Long Island, New York. So, are there places where potentially they were doing reverse engineering programs? There you go. There's a list. Let's see if the government is going to come forward and actually give us some truth on what the heck was going on back then. Now remember, we're not going to hear anything until June 25th, 2024, because Congress was nice enough to go ahead and give them all that additional time to destroy burn, shred, and get rid of whatever evidence they possibly can.
And I think it's more worth mentioning just for a second, those scientists that they mentioned, plus those universities and those companies, are some of the biggest names in the scientific community during this time. This is not a project that we weren't taking seriously. This is, we talked about the, Manhattan project, kind of all hands on deck. That's exactly what this is. This is what they're describing is, how do we get the smartest people on the planet and the, both in industry, in universities, and just in, whoever, but get the biggest names working on this problem, because as they mentioned, the U.S. government was pursuing this despite the fact that the science didn't indicate this was an area we should be researching yet. But they decided, nope, we're seeing something real here. We need to figure out what they're doing, even if our science doesn't expect us to discover anything along these lines.
By the sound of those bells, it's time for Cupcake to go outside. So if you guys want to talk about this for a period of time, I'll give you guys the floor. I will be right back, but I have to go run outside in the cold and rain, and I'll promise I'll be right back, and we'll continue on the discussion. Take it over, guys. I'll be right back.
Hey, I'm curious, LM, since you've been doing all this research, how much of what we're seeing here overlaps with the same kind of names and companies and stuff that you've been running across?
In my research of Monsanto Central Research Department, this is accurate. And there's more. I know you mentioned Manhattan Project, and it was a great undertaking, but I have to remind everybody what I said before was Manhattan Project was dead in the water until they brought the Monsanto Central Research Department online to provide the polonium for the initiator to actually be able to activate the bombs. It was at that point, and then after they successfully tested, detonated, Manhattan Project went offline and really didn't serve any further purpose, and everything got pushed to that Dayton facility and continued to operate out of the Monsanto Central Research Department. And that is where you start to see all of the links of the research funding, which came from the Rockefellers, which came from all the foundations. And this is how the government funded this scientific adventure that was supported by the eventually and passed by Truman via pocket veto in 1947. And the entire premise of this was that the scientific community knew the role that they played in World War II. And ultimately what it came down to was an argument over patents. And the scientific community wanted to be able to take this data, research it, and pass it back off to the military industrial complex. But they didn't want it to die. They wanted it to be able to generate money and to be able to make money off of it. So they had a series of hearings over 5 years fighting this out in Congress, and it's documented. So this is how the MIC was built, and specific to basically the military would say, this is what we've observed, and then they would portion out their data to the universities, which had the labs, and they were very specific which chairman of universities they gave it to. And then the labs would run tests and use students and graduate students to come up with the ideas of what it is they're observing. And then they would run their research on a very specific task. So they kept it very departmentalized. So they didn't really know the whole jigsaw puzzle picture. And then it would go back to the labs, then to Monsanto. And then at that point, it disappears. So Monsanto received it all back, and you don't know where it went. And I think that's part of the reason why I lose like Monsanto. Look at Monsanto, because Monsanto gathered all that information. And then at that point, we can't trace it back to the DOD or DOE or whoever is involved in this. So that's essentially how it happened. And that's how they keep this scientific progress going. And they award them patents after the military does their applications. At a certain point in time, there are corporations that pull this back and develop technologies for the general public that they put out to market for the consumers, which we buy it, they make money, and the funding and profits continue to go on a cycle off of it. And they've been doing this since 1947.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One of the other interesting things about this, Eric Weinstein for a while was really big on trying to figure out what's going on with the UFO thing, and then kind of went radio silent. But he brought up the fact that this gravity research was a big deal for a while, and then suddenly all of those scientists just went radio silent. And so we haven't really heard much. And there was one scientist in particular who she evidently made some big breakthrough, and then she just disappeared and then eventually passed away, and nobody really knows what happened to her. And then the other thing I heard just the other day is that there are some scientists who are potentially going to be releasing a paper where they, in doing research on high energy particle physics, accidentally observed anti-gravitational phenomena that they were able to film things like levitating a ping pong ball, levitating some wood. But since it wasn't the primary objective of their research, they didn't focus on it yet, but they're going to evidently try to revisit it and maybe get a paper out sometime in the next, hopefully this year. And so it looks like there may be breakthroughs happening that are finally breaking through to the public, which would just be amazing.
It will be amazing. I can't put forward any specific research that is going to prove what I'm getting ready to say, but I have been told that the United States government, a specific branch of the United States government, was working on anti-gravity field containment from 1991 to 1995, that they already had the propulsion and the engine, so to speak, that they were working on some serious problems with being able to control the field.
Wow.
LM, I just want to say thank you so much, sir, for sharing all of your research with us. Oh my God, it's absolutely amazing,
Isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. It's really truly goddamn near earth shattering.
Yeah, this is good stuff, man.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Can I chip in? I noticed Susan Goff's time traveling pangolins. Hi guys. Susan Goff's time traveling pangolins put a question to LM. What mention of weapons of the UFOs have you learned about, if any?
Unfortunately, and it's the sad state of the way that this goes, when they first came across this research and they couldn't figure out a lot of the physical principles, they started downgrading what they did understand, and they immediately applied it to weapons application.
I missed a super chat too. Holy cow. We had a super chat come in from Detroit Deadpool saying, "Hey, Thomas and everyone, I hope you're having a great..." I'm going to move Cupcake out of the way. Cupcake can.
No, we love Cupcake.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. I just need to be able to see when she's ready to come in. Let me move her in the back of the chat when I bring it up temporarily. There we go. Hi, Thomas and everyone. I hope you're having a great weekend. Super busy tonight, but wanted to stop by and show a little support. Keep up the great work, and most importantly, keep up the fire. You better believe it. We're not going to let any schmucks get in our way of trying to bring out this kind of information and share it with everybody. And granted, other places may go ahead and summarize this and everything, and it's great they get a summary. But from my aspect, this is something I love digging into, reading through it with the audience, and bringing everybody up to speed on the actual words and the facts, because it's so important for us to understand as much information as we can, considering how our existing government wants to go ahead and keep everything secret as much as they can. On that note.
Yeah, this was, I think we've all heard this a million times. But this research was classified higher than the Manhattan Project.
Yes, it was. And that's part of the research that I came across as well with Carolyn B. Parker. Please look into her, everybody. She didn't work on the Manhattan Project. She worked with Dayton Monsanto Central Research Department. And Kenny Young came down with a form of leukemia that was very rare. decades later after her, but she also came down with that same form of leukemia. She was working for Monsanto Central Research Department, and I think they viewed her as a potential leak and got rid of her. She had been on record speaking with her family about some of the stuff that she had done, and then she died before she completed her PhD, and then they awarded her a postgraduate PhD and tried to cover that over. But back to what Susan was saying is about weapons applications. In my research, I discovered in 1930 they were already using electromagnetic radiation radar, which predates anything that they have admitted that they've observed physically, but they are already using that as a weapon. And there are some that postulate that that's actually what brought down some of the crash retrievals. So the first thing they've done when they found exciting, novel, physics-changing properties is that they have reverse engineered it. And when they couldn't figure out how to put it in a vehicle and make it fly, they dumbed down their understanding and started developing weapons.
And that's where we're at today. Again, it's all about weapons. It's all about the DOD. They say it's a national security risk because what if Russia or China gets this hands on it? Well, you know what? They'll probably have more research going in this on our stuff. And I can tell you this one as well, considering how there apparently are Chinese spies in everywhere. I wouldn't doubt that but both of these organizations, both of those countries potentially have spies, and they know more than our general public. LM? Or Joseph has his hands up. I'm sorry.
You know, I just want to say it's absolutely amazing that everyone wants to have a hand in saying what they want to have to say, and right now, all I have to say is like, wow, all that I've seen in this show is absolutely mind-boggling. It's I'm so grateful to acquire this information. It's wow. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's great to go through the information, but also the insights from our team. Phenomenal knowledge, phenomenal people. Holy cow. Let's continue on, see how far we can get in the next 15 minutes before we can just talk about this. So number 17, such an intensive onslaught of the gravity enigma was entirely irrational from the standpoint of conventional science. Oh, like Avi Loeb, not willing to accept of how these things work and how they are irrational to his beliefs and understandings of how stuff works, and only can be rationalized within the context of a firm belief that UFOs were real and that the intelligence behind them know how to control gravity. Hence, that's why Lou and Christopher Mellon say UAP theory, check it out. They figured it out. The drive to harness this power before the USSR could do so would a strong incentive for the U.S. government to fully support an anti-gravity program. By 1966, 2 years before I was born, 46 separate projects of this nature were being financially supported, 33 of which were under the supervision of the U.S. Air Force. So look at that. We have 46 classified projects trying to figure out anti-gravity propulsion. And 33 are with the Air Force. There you go. Holy cow. The truth is out there, and it is getting bigger and bigger. And it's not just Lockheed Skunk Works. There are a lot of people, a lot of organizations who are involved in this frickin' cover-up, to say the least. Yeah. Now, although details of most of these projects have been kept classified, it would appear that generally they have not been successful. Work on gravitational waves by J. Weber and his associates under USAF Cambridge Research Library jurisdiction has been reported fairly extensively since 1966. So are they thinking gravitational waves are also being created by these craft?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Bob Lazar said. It's a gravity wave generator.
Yep.
During August of 1965, Project Blue Book received 262 reports, which was about 6 times the average number for a month, and was twice any previous month since November 1957. Were these the sightings by Los Alamos Labs by chance? I'll guess. I don't know. I haven't seen the next page of the document, but I am going to guess based on what I've heard. Come on. All right. Here we go. All right. On September 28th, 1965, Major General LeBailey, Director of Information, formally requested the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board to review Project Blue Book. The review suggested that the limited Project Blue Book staff and the official investigating officers did not possess the technical competence to properly identify the phenomena, and that the university team should be appointed to investigate selected sightings. This conclusion was supported by the House Armed Services Committee, which met on April 5th, 1966, in the shadow of a public furor consequent to the USAF identifying the well-publicized Michigan sightings as swamp gas. So Congress was aware somewhat. The Colorado University was selected, I spelled that wrong, for the task, and Dr. Edward Condon appointed to the lead project with initial allocation of $313,000, which was later raised over $500,000 to $525,000. Okay. Okay, Google, how much would $525,000 in 1965 be today?
I don't know, but I found these results on search.
$4,691,000. So they got basically a $4 million grant based on today. Didn't give me the answer, but I could look at the results. 19. The Colorado project became discredited when Dr. Condon stated publicly on January 25th, 1967 that, quote, "My attitude right now is that there is nothing to it, but I'm not surprised to reach a conclusion for another year." I'm not supposed to reach a conclusion for another year. So he came into this, again, with the knowledge, trying to shut it down. It sounds like that, doesn't it?
Does it sound familiar, Thomas? Does it sound
He was an
familiar?
asshole.
NASA did the exact same thing just recently.
I was about to say that. That's exactly what I remember hearing from several of the members of the newly appointed NASA team. They're like, do we have to do this, basically? So this is like history repeating itself.
Yeah.
Well, Gary Nolan was talking about this recently. He has no belief in the NASA investigative committee. None.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with them.
Let me turn off
Exactly.
the cupcake cam. Let's turn that down. You know, I haven't been looking.
Cupcake.
Oh yeah, she's right down here behind me, spinning in circles right now, which means I need to get up my stats and just give me an idea where the hell I'm at.
Better put it outside.
There we go. Oh wait, the revealing of a memorandum outlining a method to trick the public. Oh, misinformation, disinformation to trick the public, combined with a general dissatisfaction at Condon's biased attitude, led to the dismissal and resignation of most of the staff after most of the investigations had been made but not completely written up. The final report of 965 pages lacked coherence, again coming from the Australian government. Condon's conclusions were at a variance with individual Condon's conclusions were at variance with individual staff conclusions, although only Condon's conclusions were publicized. So Condon was the one who was heading it up. He was the only one who could make the announcements of what the conclusions were. His name was on it. But the truth of the matter was, he was going off astray from the rest of his staff. No wonder why people resigned and left. As a result,
he was already staged as far as like what he was going to put out.
yeah,
So, and he even said it himself.
yep. As a result
I
of the
think we should-
content, go ahead, Wes.
I was just going to say, I think we should maybe send a suggestion to the Arrow group that maybe they take this report and submit it as part of their own report that's due in 90 days, because this is exactly what they're tasked with doing. And it might give them a little head start.
I just screwed up, you guys. There we go. Now, there we go. Perfect. Now, when you guys start to talk, your video is not going to be out of sync, hopefully as bad as it's been. Let's get together with this. So, as a result of the Condon report, the USAF closed down Project Blue Book shortly before the American Association for the Advancement of Science held a special meeting to counteract the effect of the Condon report. The chairman of the special committee, Dr. Thornton Page, was one of the signatories to the Robertson report. Number 20. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, scientific consultant to Project Blue Book from 1948 to 1969, began his association with the conviction that all sightings could be conventionally explained. Yeah, bullshit. Even though doubts grew in his mind, he found himself obliged to support official USAF public policy. Since 1996, however, he has become more outspoken against the USAF attitude and has assisted to convene both the congressional hearings and scientific synopsis on the subject. Here's the thing to think about, guys, for us to possibly research. Does Mick West currently have a company that he is running in wherever he lives? If so, is there any trail of funding going into that company from the federal government?
Well, and even beyond, or even on a more simple level, Mick West is a paid consultant for several TV shows and news networks, and he has a vested interest in keeping his noise level high because that gives him the Twitter followers and the views that he can use to pitch himself to these TV shows as a quote-unquote expert. He is financially tied to this.
As a debunker. So it's in his best interest to debunk as many things as he possibly can.
To keep the noise level up. Exactly. So that's why if you watch him on Twitter, he puts out daily things. And the more ridiculous they are, the better it is for him, because then he gets people like me who get mad at him and try to like argue with him. And that's just what he wants. So I've just muted him so that I don't have to like fall into that trap of helping push his ratings up.
Right.
Great point, Wes.
Although initially supporting the Condon Committee, he became disillusioned and critical of it with the passage of time. It is quite clear that Dr. Hynek, along with many other reputable scientists, do not accept the USF explanation of misidentification, hysteria, or hoax.
Hey, Thomas, one thing I'd like to mention just on, since we mentioned Mick West, and this is another show idea for you maybe. Chris Leto just put out a video today where he got those 2 new papers from the Academy of Sciences in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And one of them specifically, he loved pointing it out, debunks Mick West because they go through how they specifically eliminated the possibility of these objects being bugs, birds, or artillery shells. And Chris may be somebody you could invite on the show and do like a cross show with or something, because he did a great job.
I just got a big wave that hit me when you were talking about that. Whatever is going on in those scientists in Ukraine is very, very, very important. I haven't gotten a wave like this in a while, but there's something big about Ukraine. It's going to be very monumental to our future going forward. And what I love about these scientists, it's scientists with attitude, scientists who rebuttal on stuff. They went back against Avi Loeb. They're pushing back against Mick West because you know what? Their findings are rock fucking solid. Because
they pushed back with it with great science. It's awesome.
Yeah. We're going to have to go ahead and find those PDFs and then go over it here as well. I'm sure if Leto's got them, hopefully he's distributing them somewhere, because this is the kind of stuff that they're going to want to get out for everybody to go ahead and see. I support the scientific program that's going on in Ukraine, the scientists who have been involved in this passionately since 2018, years before the conflict over Kiev and the area even started up.
And one last quick thing on Mick West. Everybody, just as a rule of thumb, the best way to look at Mick West is think of him as a street magician. He's an entertainer who is making money, and he loves to distract you with one hand while you pay attention to what he wants you to pay attention to, so that you don't pay attention to what's really going on. So just enjoy him as an entertainer. Do not consider him credible at all.
Okay. Mick West's claim to fame is Tony Hawk's Skater Pro. In that game, they sold a lot of fucking games on the PlayStation, on the Dreamcast, on the Saturn. There was a Dreamcast and the PlayStation. I don't think it was on Nintendo at that time. Either way, they sold a lot of stuff. The thing about that game is, when you were playing it, it felt like it was real, like you were actually doing and controlling all the different stuff. Keep in mind, everything in that game, the physics, your attachment to the objects, the different things were going on, were all faked. But they were faked to a level of detail that just grabbed gamers, grabbed their attention, made them want to play it more and more and more, and he made a lot of money off it. So, like you were saying, he's a street entertainer. Think of him, he's a digital magician. He's someone who knows how to take stuff in a simulation to attract and enchant people and make them believe in what he creates. That's his real talent.
Hey, Thomas, I have a question for LM. LM, do you have any sense about what kind of people don't want to know about this? They just don't want to know about it. I don't understand that.
What kind of people? You mean like as far as the public, or are you talking about?
No, I mean like within the higher echelons of this secrecy. There are, like within the Air Force.
Okay, so I do have an opinion on this, and I'll take it back to funding and how the scientific community and the military-industrial complex drives the economy, and who sits on certain boards and who are stakeholders and who has shares of what. Essentially what we're talking about here, there's so many levels to disclosure that we're looking to plow through, peel back, and understand. The reason I don't buy the explanation from the USAF saying that it's demonic. The reason I believe that they're holding this back is because, one, it will affect the economy. But why is it going to affect the economy?
Really quick, if the ETs did invent religion to go ahead and distract humans from killing each other, potentially, right? Then in that line, it would be demonic in a religious sense, because the religion of what the rabbit hole they're going down was brought to us, but your local religion was brought to you by the ET experience.
But ultimately, to what Larry's question is the reason why people are pushing back is because our understanding, and this is limited in my view, but it's what I found in my research. Our understanding of the scientific process that we've developed and that we live and die by, and the physics that we think we understand is wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. There is a whole level of physics. Now, there are physics that we observe in our environment that work and can explain things. But when it comes to the unexplainable, they're not ready to admit that there is an entire different physical environment that exists around us. That it would basically break the banks. It would break the scientific community. So the thing is that they don't have shit to say about it. They don't understand it. They don't quite get it. So it literally would tear down a wall of reality, and everybody would be staring at a whole new physical universe, not even knowing what's up and down, left or right.
Exactly. I got you. I've got A quick point coming in from Sapphire Elf. It looks like he's sober today. Tom, that's a good thing. But it is 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight in the UK, so that would be fine. But hey, it's always 4 o'clock in the afternoon somewhere in the world. So, Thomas Fessler, I wonder what will happen when aliens do land and disclose and say they have their own religion. Will Earth religions look to them for universal truths or reject them? Well, I had a person who was on the channel before, who was very religious. And when I brought this up to him and I would say, potentially with them coming around, we could find out one of our chapters, one of our books, some of our stuff is different from what our beliefs are. We can't look at this stuff and saying it's coming from, it's something that was given to us or written to us by God. It was written by man, for man, to control man. And yes, things may have been edited when I was going down, but either way, we have to look at a situation. There are a lot of people who are die hard in their religion, heavily in the United States, which is heavily Christian. If this stuff comes around, they are going to deny it. They're going to say it's a bunch of lies. You're not going to take this away from us. And if you're telling us this stuff, it's not true. And that's going to be a real problem for the people in the United States if any of this stuff comes around.
Yeah, it is. It's going to destroy what's not true in religion. And that's, the majority of it. It's not true. As I've always said, Thomas, my research has led me to believe that the Bible is not about God in any way. It's about E.T.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the Old Testament, exactly. Listen to a lot of the stuff that's going on there. Remember, someone who was kind of vengeful for dealing with the things going on. It's like, are the ETs going to come back and be that kind of vengeful against us again because we're not listening? You never know. But great topic. But really quick, what I want to do here is, if I could, I want to thank everybody so far who's been in. If you've been that's been a part of this broadcast, and especially the people in our audience. This one's for you, because if you look at our stats, what the heck is this? There's 124 people in the show right now and only 64 likes. Do us a favor, reach down and hit that freaking like button. I can't do it for you. That's it, only 64, now 69, 70. It's going up. We appreciate it. Let's see how many likes we can possibly get. And you know what? If you haven't subscribed, what the heck you waiting for? We're a fair and honest show. We try to bring forward the truth. None of us are, well, we try to be as expert as we can. We try to be as centered as we can to bring forward to it. Some of our people are off to the left, off to the right, or off in Looneyville. But either way, we bring it all together to have a great conversation and we represent as many views as we can. So if you're having a good time, do us a favor. Reach down and hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you come back on a regular basis as we try to go ahead and take this channel to 5,000 subs without buying any. That's not a right thing to do. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that so far. Let's see what we can do to get through this. Believe it or not, we are only on page 16 of 58 pages. There's no way we're going to be able to get through all of it today. So we're going to have to break this into several chunks. I mean, several. But this report is just the last time on Disclosure tonight. We're going to have to have a recap. We're going to have to talk about what we talked about the day before and then come back and then pick up where we left off like it's a freaking series. But you know what? Holy shit is all I could say.
Yeah. Thank you to West. Thank you to West for bringing this up. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, West. Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Gosh, yes. It shows information can come from everybody, so on. Doesn't just have to come from you. And Wes Decker, my God, thank you very much for bringing this forward. You are an unbelievable asset to the community and a great friend. Thank you for everything you have done. I'm so privileged to know you as an individual, and I'm glad you could be a part of my life, and I'm glad I could be a part of yours. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Amen.
I really appreciate that, and I have the same feeling, and I'm grateful to be here and grateful to everybody on the show as well. And all the audience. This is a team effort, I think. And I think everybody is helping bring something to this conversation that's really helping open me up. But thank you, Thomas. I appreciate you, and I think you're an awesome friend.
Thank you. By the sound of that noise, it sounds like Gary could be here. Nope, he's not. Let's get on to this. The RAAF attitude to UFOs. Let me go ahead and see how long this is going to go. Okay. We're going to go through the last section we're going to cover today. Maybe we'll go on to the next one because the next one starts off with a whole bunch of their sightings and everything else. We've got 2 pages left we're going to try and get through here. Covering the RAAF, which is the Royal Australian Army, or it's the Australian Army and Air
Royal
Force.
Australian Air Force.
Yes, there we go. Thank you for getting that to me. I appreciate that. His cupcake is underneath my leg.
Thank Andy. He's the one who got me correct on that.
Hold on, guys. I need to get a snack here for cupcake. Almost there. Okay, this isn't. If you have an old dog who doesn't have much teeth anymore, I highly suggest, this is a personal recommendation, it's not a sponsor or anything, Milo's Kitchen chicken meatballs. They're small little nuggets of chicken that you can take with your fingers easily and grind up and put down so she can eat, or Cupcake can eat these things without it. It has made my life so much easier to get her to keep on eating her food and to keep me from destroying my fingers trying to break up these little dog treats that are so freaking hard. There you go, Artie. All right, let's get into this. The Directorate of the Air Force Intelligence is the component to the RAAF that is responsible for the analysis of all official reporting of UFOs. At no stage has there been more than one part-time officer allocated to this task. Shows you how important they think it is. Initial investigation of reports is often undertaken by a part-time investigator from nearby air bases. I wonder if that's who put together the paper for us that we're reading. Homework, it's fucking unreal. The RAAF admits that its interests lie solely in the area of air defense, and it lacks both interest and competence to consider the scientific aspects. This is the same line we're hearing today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we need to find out whom a 1957 request for scientific intelligence, for the scientific intelligence section of the JIB to accept UFO responsibility was rejected by the JIB. In 1968, the Department of Air stated that it intended, quote, to take up further the question of Commonwealth departments, such as defense, supply, education, and science. Prime Minister's Department, etc., to see whether some other Commonwealth agency is better placed to assume responsibility for unidentified flying objects. Hold on.
There's a word you don't see very often today, Commonwealth. Oh,
Yes.
That's communist.
Yeah. Luckily, Cupcake just made an accent, but luckily it's on one of the spot rugs I put on to try and catch it. When she goes to bend down to drink and stuff, her bladder just gives out. Poor dog, but hey, I've got a great Bissell carpet cleaner just for those circumstances. Best thing I ever bought. All right, or in the UK we call it a Hoover, but at the same time, we would maintain our interest in the matter and work with any other Commonwealth agency who is considered to be more appropriate as a coordinating agency for the Commonwealth as a whole. There does not appear to have been any fulfillment of this intention to seek Commonwealth assistance. So they came back and said, it's not us. We shouldn't be going ahead and covering this. It should be in all these other areas. But everyone was like, no, not us. We're not going to cover this stuff. And it fell apart, it sounds like. So, 2, in support of the RAAF's admission of scientific disinterest and an identification list of all sightings made between 1960 and 1965 contains 15 identifications of Venus, not one of which is valid. In every case, Venus was totally in a totally different part of the sky, or not even above the horizon. Didn't you bring this up last night, West?
Yeah, this is what I was referring to.
Yeah. Out of 37 meteor identifications, only 9 could possibly be meteors, and even several of those cases would be doubtful. This offhand, unscientific attitude to identification did not escape the notice of the press or various scientists. Take, for example, let's talk about meteors. You see them, they're racing across the sky, they burn out, they're there for a period of time. Now imagine you're looking up and you see a satellite moving across the sky in a way and direction that's not common for your area. As the satellite's moving across the sky, a bigger one that you usually see brighter, all of a sudden, it streaks straight up and away, and it's gone. Sure as heck wasn't a meteor, because a meteor generally comes in and it's gone. It's moving like a satellite, but it didn't come down. It actually shot straight up.
It's a meteor that basically just, changed its mind.
Oh, yeah. Got pulled back towards the sun.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
3. In general, the RAAF attitude has been guided by the USAF public releases, which were aimed at allaying public interest by denying the reality of UFOs. And by the way, next time I can find out when Suspicious Observers is going to have Ben Davidson from Suspicious Observers is going to have one of his live streams where he reads off all the super chats and answers the questions. I'm going to bring up the question about, hey, what happens when all the oceans slosh up and everything, and it compromises all of our nuclear waste sites and nuclear reactors? How safe is your observer's ranch going to be from all the radiation?
I'll make sure to tag you if I see it coming on as a live event.
Yeah, please do call or whatever. Yeah, I want to start it's just the reality. You have to look at the big picture. You can't look at how it happened so many times in the past. No, you have to look at what's going to happen this time. Consequently, most of the Australian reports were given identification without a great concern for rational correlation, aka swamp gas, no matter what, or Venus. Most investigators and collectors regarded their UFO tasks as an intrusion to their more legitimate tasks. As a result, there has been negligible scientific analysis of the data. This is going back to 1971, forget. And most of the opinions expressed by DAFI have been largely a reflection of the USAF public attitude and disinformation and misinformation machine. With the present... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's the key thing to this that I think we can read into for not just Australia, but probably most of the other countries in the world. They took their lead from the United States Air Force and said, hey, let's just do what they're doing. Let's blow it off and discredit the people instead of worrying about actually investigating it.
Right. Okay, I'll take care of you in a minute here. We're almost done. With the present reduced staff of the DAFI, let me go ahead and grab the next page out of the archive. Bring it down. Let's get it in here. Zoom it up. Scroll down. Here we go. It is unlikely that UFO reports will receive any treatment beyond filing. So, no treatment beyond filing. We're going to ignore it. We're not going to give you any real answers about where the heck it is. 4. If Australia is to follow the U.S. lead, instead of following the public USAF attitude, it would be preferable to follow the USAF/CIA role of concentrating on gaining a knowledge of the power sources involved. However, it may be preferable to act independently of the U.S. and initiate a program that is scientifically sound and intellectually honest towards unraveling the UFO mystery. But this is exactly what we're trying to do right now. Well, the people are. We can't say that potentially the DOD, the RO, or the executive branch of the government, who has been pretty much in charge of this whole psyop. You know, they say some presidents weren't written on this. I don't know if I can believe it or not, because if this is all stuff that is under the executive branch, it's all under executive branch control, was put in place by the executive branch. I guess a outgoing president could have passed stuff or something to say, okay, no one else can know about this. You guys go off and do their things. Keep all the presidents out of the know. It's just hard if it's,
I agree. I feel like they have more knowledge about this than they let on.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So in such a venture, it may be worthwhile working somewhat closer with the public than usual in the U.S. and there it is, the United Kingdom. There you go. Holy cow. This is just an amazing document that just goes on, and we've gotten through 17 pages out of 58. On our next episode of Disclosure Tonight, we will be going and talking about chronology of investigations into UFO phenomena, picking up with page 18 through wherever as far as we can go. So we got through 18, so we'll probably hit pages 18 through 36 is probably what we're going to be able to get through next. Maybe not in our next installment. This is one heck of a great document we've been going through. We've been going through it, commenting it and everything. If anyone is in the audience, you have things you want to say about it, but you haven't said in chat, feel free to follow that link as we're going to jump into some viewer call-in here. And I want to get the panel's opinion. We've been hearing about this all the way through, but overall, guys, what's your thought on what the heck we're seeing here? Larry, you're there first.
Well, this is like red meat for me, although I'm not a big red meat eater, but this is really, this is the ultimate disclosure that we've been looking for. I mean, these kind of documents, there are other ones out there, but this one tops them all for me.
Yeah.
And the guy, I don't know who exactly wrote this, but he had some spine.
Yeah.
He had some spine. He said not one of those Venus reports was accurate. Not one of them.
Right. Well, remember, this was a top secret document in Australia that wasn't supposed to be going out for the overall general public. And it's interesting to say, but before we go any further, I need to go ahead and find a video and bring it up. Wes, you know which one I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah. I sent it to you earlier.
Oh, yes.
I'm not going to put the audio up on this one, but I'll put it up for a second. Let's see if I can get it here. I can't put it there. I'll put it here on top of the document. Let me get back in here for a second. The title on this one: when the lights come on at the end of the night. And you can find "This Is What You've Been Dancing With." Oh my God. Oh yeah. Some of the things you find on Reddit, unbelievable. There's another one I'll share with you guys later. But anyway, let me get back into the studio. Sorry, audience. I had to bring some fun into that. So, Larry, great take on it. Mike, what are your thoughts on this whole overall piece that we've been hitting and where Australia has been taking it? At least in this report from 1971.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that this is a 54-year-old report from Australia, of all places. So weren't we talking about this last night when we said about disclosure coming forward? It might have to come from outside the United States, like another country. Well,
it's a 51-year-old report. I'm 54 and I was born in 68, so this came out in 71,
right? It came out 71?
Yeah.
All right, so we're in 2023.
Say 51-year-old report. Close enough.
51-year-old report.
There we go.
Got it. Right. So anyway, the point is that the Australian government was looking into what the U.S. was doing at that point, and they documented this with this report. So my question is, who actually did the report? What was it? The USAF? Well, not the USA. The Australian Air Force, the Royal Air Force.
Yep.
The RAF.
Yes.
Okay. So the RAF was investigating how the U.S. was dealing with this subject, or better yet, the suppression of it. What blows my mind about it it seems like, even though it's 51 years old, it's discussing everything in real time that we have been talking about the whole time about what's going on now.
Yes.
It's covering every theory, every speculation we've made, and it's confirming that it's no longer speculation. This is actually factual as far as what the U.S. Air Force, how the U.S. government has been dealing with this going back to 45, and they documented that from Australia, and it includes everything we've ever speculated on as far as who's involved in this, how far it goes, what the U.S. Air Force has been really up to. That's blowing my mind because it's like nothing has changed. They're doing the exact same shit that they did 51 years ago. We're frustrated because they're doing the exact same thing the whole time. That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around, because what's more important about this report that West found, it's documenting every theory that anybody has ever had on this subject and saying, no, you're right, that's real, and this is how the Air Force and the U.S. government has been dealing with this the whole time. So it's relevant, and I'm surprised it wasn't suppressed, because it's explaining everything that we ever guessed the government was doing without any proof. Well, it seems to me like this document supplies all of the proof to establish everything that we've been going over is 100% accurate and hasn't changed from then to now. So I'm surprised nobody else is picking up on this. I'm surprised nobody else is talking about this. When did this document come out?
I found out about it about 2 days ago, and I have to make sure that I give credit where credit's due. This was came across my Twitter feed, and I believe it's attributed to Ross Colhart. He's the one who actually found it.
Wow.
So,
are you shitting me?
No, not at all. I don't want to steal credit from anybody else. This is something that just popped into my view, so I wanted to share it with you guys.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about it on the show. But if it came from Ross Colhart, Australia, that's his area of expertise.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't shock me if he found this. I'm just surprised because he has ties to mainstream media. How come this isn't blasted out everywhere that people are talking about this on the news?
Well, that's a great question.
I know he complains all the time that he himself and him and Bryce Zabel, they don't know why mainstream media doesn't pick up items like this and run with it. He was complaining for years now that whatever information comes up or out, they ignore it. So that's probably what's going on, because he found it, he put it out on Twitter. We got it. We're discussing it and putting it out. But mainstream media, as of right now, are not paying attention to it.
And given the length of this report, I would imagine this will probably be an upcoming episode for he and Bryce.
I need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, one other thing about what you were just saying, Mike, really struck me is I was thinking, what's so surprising about this report is I'm like, it was written in 1971. That was like a month before I was born. And I was thinking, what would the report look like today if it was written and contained the last 50 years that have gone on since then? And then I realized it's just what you said. It would be the same report because nothing has changed.
The only thing that changed is the date. That's it.
Exactly. Or it would be and then it repeated from the decades of 1980 to 1985 or 1990. And then it repeated again from 1990 to 2010.
Yeah.
It's like we just keep replaying the same old record.
Well, they're using the same playbook, and we just now are talking about exactly what that playbook is in this PDF report.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about this report that's interesting is that I think this report was written from the point of view of the Air Force in Australia trying to decide what were they going to do. They were at a fork in the road where they could continue to follow the U.S. Lead and just sweep this under the rug, or they could try to do something legitimate.
Yes.
And then instead, it's based on history. It sounds like they made the wrong choice.
Yes.
And they went back down the path of what the U.S. has done. And that damage that the U.S. has inflicted upon the world with their points of view is just, It's frustrating. Anyway, I'm sorry, Thomas.
Quick thing
No,
I
no,
want to
no.
put out there:
Go
as
ahead,
more
Tom.
people, Mike, hold on a second. As more people come in, also Andy has got his hand up. We'll get you to let you respond to Mike in a second. Just want to let you know, as more people has joined the chat, we've got, like, I think Sapphire just came in. Let's keep the content and our conversation on the document we've been discovering. And if there's anybody in the audience has things you want us to bring up on the screen and questions you have or points you want to make, do me a favor, put it in all caps, and I'll be sure to go ahead and bring that up. With that, Mike, I'll let you go back on what West has said before we go bring up Andy W.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. So, Wes, I can answer that. You do know that the U.S. government has a nuclear military base on the south side of Australia. And a lot of, and because Ross Coulthard brought this up in previous shows that he did, there was a huge UFO sighting on a regular basis over the area of Australia where we have nuclear base. And he was talking about it. Nobody else was.
Yeah.
So Australia is influenced because you also have to understand something else. They don't have a large military. They are constantly threatened by China. They don't even have a navy. Okay. They get funding from the United States. They are influenced directly by the United States because even though they have a large landmass, they're still basically just a big island surrounded by water on all four sides. They're not self-sufficient. They require the United States to be actively involved with them, including policy.
But you remember they just ordered a bunch of submarines from us.
Submarines.
Yep.
Yeah, you know why? I'll tell you why. Because they're being constantly harassed by Chinese military.
Oh, yeah.
They send naval ships over to Australia's coast and tell them, here we are, what are you going to do about it? So Australia is frustrated by that. Not only that, but if you follow anything going on in Australia, their government is just as dysfunctional as ours is, if not more. So as a result of that and their need, they are getting support from the U.S. They're getting influenced by the U.S. because they wouldn't be able to do much on their own. And they're directly threatened by China every day. So the point is that as far as what our policy is in suppressing this information, that's why you haven't heard shit come out of them since this report happened in 71. They're following in tow with the U.S., like most other smaller countries do. So that doesn't shock or surprise me, Wes. That's what's still going on today.
All right. Good comeback and everything, Andy. You've had your hand up for a while, Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on this. Wow, what a mind-blowing report, really. We keep saying Australia's remaining ignorant on this. Well, 1971, the year before I was born, they weren't ignorant. They were actively creating this document. Mind-blowing. They must have been lent on, I'm sure of that, for it to become pushed back like it has. Nothing to see, move along, please, basically seems to be there. Same as in the UK. Yeah. Basically just that, really.
If I had to guess, Andy, it isn't just the UK or Australia. Anyone that's a participant in the Five Eyes, I'm sure is following this policy.
I think USA's just got so much push. Yeah, it leads, everybody else follows, unfortunately.
That's what it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but what's interesting about this document is everything, because up until before we received this document and Thomas has been going over it, we were only speculating. There was no evidence to support the anecdotal stories about what the U.S. government may be doing to suppress this information. Nothing documented, no real proof. This document now is the actual proof for everything that we've been speculating on after all these years. It's right there. It's not a guess anymore. They're spelling it all out.
Yep.
It's
100%.
the roadmap.
100%.
That's what
yes,
what blew my mind about
Electra
this report.
RC is saying, yes, we have a Navy. He's from Australia. He would know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So listen, the stuff with Australia is pretty much common knowledge at this point.
Yeah.
I think the base that we have there too is actually a listening and relay post for our submarines. I think that's the base you're referring to.
Yeah, and that's the
Gap.
base that actually has had a lot.
No.
Hold on, Sapphire Elf. Hold on. I'll be calling on
That's
you
Pine
next.
Gap.
Yeah, we'll find out. All right, Sapphire Elf, you're next up. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, Pine Gap is the radio telescope in Australia, and that's inland from me in New South Wales. But the one it's not really southish, but that'd be Woomera. And it's a US joint Australian base, and they do have nuclear research facilities. And I think the power system there might be a small nuclear type thing, because they're so far away from any kind of settlement that you just wouldn't run power lines there. You'd get too much loss. And so I'm probably right with that. But they also tested secretly the Tomahawk missile came out of Woomera in joint with the US and Australia. So there's a couple of things.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
to
what
say
I
the
was
least.
talking about, Sapphire Elf.
I didn't realize
Thanks for
that.
clearing that up.
I didn't realize Sapphire was from Australia. Interesting.
Yeah, he is. He is.
It just depends how drunk I get. Sometimes when I get too drunk, I start to talk Cockney like a British, right?
No, you start talking like a cunt.
Oh, okay, that's right. You can get up me, Scottish pants and all.
Oh, I'm just giving you a hard time. And hey,
Oh,
don't
no,
worry, folks.
right.
They use the C word all the time in Australia. It's part of your usual language, isn't it?
It's how you use it. You can say, "Oi, mate, what are you doing?" And you know you done something wrong, but you can say, "Oh, you're a good cunt. Let's hang out and I'll buy you a beer."
Yeah.
You know, that's how you say it. It's more tone of voice here than what actually comes out of your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's like the Hawaiian use of the word aloha. It can mean coming and going. Hello, goodbye.
Aloha means both
Australia
hello
kind
and
means the same thing.
yeah, that was Kura. Is someone was going to name a cat in some other channel, and I said that's our native word for like nighttime in my tribe. But anyway, yeah, I was going to tell you about I saw a black triangle once because I'm van life and camping, right? And I spend a lot of time cooking with the fire pit down under the stars.
Yeah.
And there was like middle of summer, packed campground, 120 people there. And there's this black stationary triangle. About each side was about 1.5 inches, and it was equilateral, not isosceles. Like it wasn't pointy, it was equal sided.
Yeah.
And the stars over time moved in procession behind it, and it just stayed there. That's how I could spot it, right? And everyone saw it. And a couple of hours later, we looked up and it was just gone. And the next day, I went around talking to people, and Australia's very secular. We're not religious. And we just don't really give a stuff about much. We're just really apathetic about things, right? And I walked around and everyone just said, "Oh, yeah, we saw that. It's pretty unremarkable. No one got abducted. We're all here. Who gives a stuff?"
Well,
No
you
one's
don't
gonna
remember. For most people,
Yeah.
you're not going to remember if you were abducted. That's the thing.
Right. It's always the balloon owls if you get abducted. It's the
Yeah.
balloon owls.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Some people say, "Oh yeah, Australians have the TR-3Bs." Nobody has the TR-3Bs. Even we've had one of those giant triangles come up alongside one of our aircraft carriers that was on the east coast of the United States and shot straight up. I believe this is one of the times when we had the stuff going with the, what was it, the Batman balloon thing, and where they saw that, and also the cube within a sphere. You know, and they came up out of the water, not disturbing the water, and shot up. And, you know, we can look at some of these things and be like Stephen Greer and say, "Oh, it's all Lockheed Martin, blah, blah, blah." This, what you saw, Sapphire, wasn't of human origin.
I do think it's more likely if we were going to mess with like found or crashed or stolen tech that we would make a triangle, because it's still a wing. And even if the gravity propulsion messes out, you can fire some retro thrusters.
We've
or
never
wing
figured it
storer.
out. That's the thing. We've never figured it out.
I don't claim to know anything, but
Yeah.
I just think if you were going to fly around in a round sphere and something went wrong, you're going to fall like a
Well,
rock.
the round spheres, remember, what they think the round spheres are is actually a gravitational warp field going around the craft. Inside of that sphere that's lit up is actually a craft. Ted Rowe was on the channel. I have to find this. He talked about it. There's a place in Hawaii by a native temple that's there. And there's a bay there and everything where it's at. And he was there waiting, and he saw one of the craft come up out of the water, move along to a cliff, and then go up along the cliff and then shoot off. When he was up close to it and he saw it coming out of the water, he saw like a saucer shape that was inside of that. So remember, when we're seeing these spheres, we're thinking round. That's what it is. But think of it as potentially an energy field that's surrounding the craft that's ionizing with our atmosphere at the time.
There's something that I've pondered is if they're manipulating gravity waves, right, that would also bend the field that's relative to us and the light around them. And maybe all the different shapes could be the same craft. It's just operating at different gravitational wavelengths.
Right.
Could be round, triangular, sphere, cubist.
Some of the things when we're seeing this stuff, you'll see the craft, but sometimes you'll see a duplication effect, like we'll see from an Einstein ring far out in the depths of space. Sometimes you'll see them split, come back together. You'll go ahead and also see a magnification effect, and another effect that you'll get where you'll see around the sphere itself, depending on if it's lit up or not, you'll be able to see the magnification effect going from the surrounding area. But most importantly, the things when they pop and they're invisible to the eye, that's because the light coming from the back wraps around and is seen through the other side. So there's actually, it looks like invisibility, but it's the light coming from the other side, coming around and wrapping and moving to the other side of the object.
And moisture can also form a prism, like a rainbow, right? So if it was repelling everything relative to us in its own little bubble, and it's flying over the ocean, there would be some kind of pressurized water vapor sphere around it that it's constantly trying to get rid of, right? And that will bend light as well, just refracting off
potentially, but not in the way the gravitational field will. And there's something else that they've said in these craft is what's going on the outside of the gravitational field. There's a great pressure difference going on between one and the other, like an air pressure. So actually you will get it forming clouds or wind or whatever it is, depending on the strength of the object that's there.
Thomas?
Yes, sir.
You guys, what you were just talking about, we definitely have to do a show on those two new papers from Ukraine, because they talk directly about this phenomena, especially their detection technique is actually using color cameras that they're able to analyze the RGB light frequencies, and that's one of the reasons they can definitively show that these are not birds, insects, or anything.
You know what we need to figure out, West?
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to get that video that I have of the stuff in Malta to the scientists in Ukraine, because this is a reproduction of exactly what they're seeing from an iPhone 11 Pro Max camera.
Exactly. That's a great idea. God, somebody, maybe we can reach out to Chris Lato and see if he's got, ability to kind of make a connection for you.
Yeah. You know who knows Chris Lato, believe it or not? The king of name dropping himself. If he's out there, Timmy, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how to get.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Introduce me if you can. I'd like to get the videos to him, go back and forth about the stuff rather than going through a middleman, and see what we can do to get those videos of the stationary craft that's at a far in a distance that's just hanging out there waiting for this stuff, and then the craft that go flying by and come back and dive bomb one of those fighters from the Red Arrows in the United Kingdom's Air Force.
But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just thought it was interesting what you guys were talking about is part of what they address in those papers.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It didn't interrupt. That was relevant. Thanks for interjecting.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Before I go,
if I could
Thomas.
Yeah, if I could go ahead and bring in, I know we've got you talking about this. Let's see if he's still here. Oh, he left. Who was the other guy we had in the chat without his camera? He's not here. LM, what is your thought on this overall situation of the Ukrainian? I mean, not the Ukrainian, the Australian documents that we've been discussing.
I think it helps move the ball down the field for us to confirm some of the attempts and successful attempts to shoot down credible investigations. Ultimately, the way that I view this is I'm noticing that there's some important things missing. I've read forward a little bit in this document, and I won't reveal that because we're going to go over that. But as far as what we are absorbing and digesting at this point, this is not a research and analysis conclusion from the RAAF. This is a counterintelligence summary that was reported to the RAAF.
Nice.
So this is intelligence gathered to bring their intelligence up to speed within what regards the United States is disseminating information and intelligence through the CIA.
Yeah.
So what's missing is, and they led, but they have not followed up with, and I've read through some more, what's missing from this, and I don't think we'll see it, is any quantifiable or quality data from the RAAF themselves in regards to what they have witnessed and seen in Australia per UAPs.
I can't wait till we get to the spot on. Go ahead, West.
You're right, they don't.
Go ahead, West.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I was just saying, I was confirming that what Ellen was saying, that this is, he's correctly summarized it.
The biggest thing I'm looking forward to getting into is talking about the craft, what they're doing, the potential weapon systems they've had, how they're using, whether it's scientific or anything. That was all in the introduction, which is going to be further back in the report, but that is going to be a holy cow moment to go ahead and cover. And, you know, I could go ahead and read this ahead of time. I don't want to. You know why? Because I want to be reacting and have the audience's reaction and the excitement that everybody else has. It's
yes.
Yeah. It's one of the special things I do. It actually makes my job a bit easier, but if we can find the stuff, but it puts you at that same level of holy cow, holy shit. Are we actually reading this? Are we actually going through this? And that's what we're dealing with a lot of times in this kind of topic. And it helps keep me real, honestly.
It's like opening your Christmas present on Christmas morning and not sneaking a peek the night before.
Yeah, shaking the box, looking in, trying to pull out the paper and see what's inside. Yeah.
I just to close real quick, and then I'll let you get to Sapphire. We do remember that in this latest UAP report that was proffered to us, along with some supplementary and according documents, that it was pointed out that the OUSDI and CIA potentially were a problem. So what I see this is as confirmation of that. I think this is a little bit of a spill the beans to gather more support and to shine more light on the fact that the CIA has been driving a majority of this for a while.
Well, you know what? If we look at a lot of stuff about the CIA, it actually comes in because a lot of this stuff is a lot of the old documentation and different stuff we're reading is all coming from the CIA reading room. That makes sense. If they were the ones who are truly doing a lot of the investigations, they just don't have the information because they're trying to dispose it. They were the curators. They were the collectors of all this data.
One question that comes to mind about the CIA and all this, though, is that, as I mentioned, there have been at least 3 CIA directors that when they left their posts tried to come forward and raise awareness of the UFO topic to the public and to Congress. And if these guys had that level of influence while they had the job and couldn't get that done and felt like the only way to do it was after they left, what does that tell us about what's going on inside the CIA, that the CIA director can't even control what he wants to do? I mean, this is something we're hearing repeatedly, and these guys supposedly should be at the top of the food chain of this organization that's doing this. It makes me feel like there's some group within the CIA that's got more strings to pull than the director.
Majestic 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as this document that you brought forward suggests, and it clearly explains that even if the CIA had an involvement in this, they were ultimately doing it on behalf of the USAF, because it keeps coming back to the Air Force. And I think that the Air Force branch of the military is the one on this subject longer than anybody else. And they're the ones that a lot of other branches of government, like the CIA, are probably answering to. So it seems like they're the ones calling the shots on the policy in regarding this and suppressing the information. It keeps going back full circle to the Air Force. The Australian government on this document keeps going back to the Air Force, that this is what the Air Force is pushing in suppressing the information. And I think ultimately that's where this is going to end up. It's going to stop. The buck is going to stop with the Air Force.
Oh, gosh.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Because
what do you think, Thomas?
Go ahead.
I think so as well. Well, the buck is going to stop with our congressional control and trying to get and reel in the executive branch of the government. And I'm not going to rely on any particular branch of the government for bringing the information together willingly. It's going to be a fight. Larry and then Sapphire. Larry, go ahead.
No, Sapphire was first.
Okay, Sapphire, take it.
I just wanted a second to gloat that I was right. 186 balloon encounters. The balloon men are coming. And what are they? What do they mean? Secrets in the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was right. Okay, I'm out. All right. Night,
Balloon-like
boys.
entities. Goodbye, Sapphire. Have a good night.
Love you, dudes.
Take care, guy. Thank you.
Take care.
You know, Sapphire was freaking phenomenal today. My God. On the ball, bringing some information in, telling us about stuff. Completely coherent, thank God. But it was a good one. I'm just giving him a hard time, of course. Need to.
Definitely appreciate his content. Or
now,
his,
Larry, back to you.
Well, Thomas, what I saw in this document was parallel to what we're seeing in the Wilson Davis document, where they realized that they did not have secured personnel, cleared personnel that were bright enough to figure out what's going on with these engines. So they farmed it out to universities, but now we don't see that anymore. I think they've clamped down even further because they feel like they don't want this secret to come out. But or maybe there are some corporations that are, well, like Lockheed, we know is very likely one of them that's keeping all of this under wraps and trying to figure it out. But it's just interesting that they were not able to figure it out. And what LM said was very interesting too, which was that when they realized they couldn't really make this thing fly, they at least tried to figure out the power component of it. But I don't even think they got that.
Yeah, I don't think they got it either. And it's just a situation of, just looking at where the government is and what they're trying to hide and not bring forward. They've got a long road ahead of them to try and put this genie back in the bottle. And I don't think that's even going to get close to be happening, to tell you the truth. They can't.
No.
Well, let me speak to that, Larry. So the power component, you're right, they didn't figure it out. So they immediately shifted to, well, if we can't figure it out, how can we neutralize it or defeat it? And that's where the majority of their research went to, was to neutralizing and defeating it.
Right. I know what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If we had a craft from a plane, right, from Russia or China, who was a spy plane, and it crashed in the United States, and people were alive, we wouldn't be we'd take those people and probably lock them up, but we're not going to go ahead and vivisect them and everything else and do all these horrible things. We're going to return it back to the people. But that's one thing why I always talk about the war against the ET. The way that we're acting, it is like a war against them, because technically we don't know who they are, what's going on, but we're doing everything within our power to grab that technology and try and figure it out without a respect for life in some instances.
Yes. And I think that we have to count on their good graces, the ETs, to be the bigger man here and recognize what fuck ups the humans are right now.
Yeah. And remember, it's our governments, guys. It's not the people. We're kind of stuck in this thing like every other country around the world. We've got a government that's run by special interests, secretive programs, big money to go ahead and push stuff where the big money wants it to go. Because when it comes down to payola, and don't forget, we've got all the people who are in government programs for secrecy, or UFOs or different things, military, going ahead and leaving. And where are they all going? They're all going to defense contractors. It's a big money scheme. It's a big money game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Who else do we have left on here we haven't covered? Andy W. What is your thought on this overall document of what we went through and what we've been looking at here? What kind of stood out for you?
Oh, blimey. Quite a bit. It's another one really I need to take a read of, to be honest. It's so much going on.
Right.
But it definitely, you know, as I chipped in a bit earlier, people have been saying that Australia have been ignorant and passing the buck, but 1971, a year before I was born, you know, they were taking a deep interest in this, and I really don't think it's gone away. I think they've been told to keep stum, but I'm pretty sure they're still in the game as far as what they're dealing with it. I really do.
100%.
It's never gone away. You know, for them to expend, as you say, the energy that they expended on this document, it took quite a bit to write that up. I would think, not being in the military document writing, you know, job or whatever. I mean, but they were quite on the ball, and to say they had over 2,000 potential sightings that were not false. You know, and that's in 1971. How many have they had since? Thousands and thousands. Exactly. It's mind-boggling, to be honest. You know, for Ross Coulthard to find this document, I think it's a gold mine. I really do.
Yeah,
Me too.
I think so as
One
well.
thing I think, just to repeat something that everybody said, because I think it's just this important. For years, like Mike brought this up, we have all talked about these points, and in legitimate circles, people would ridicule people who brought these points up as that just being conspiracy-minded thinking, or you're just, you know, you're making that up, or, oh, you UFO people. And now here in black and white is an intelligence assessment by a world power who came to a very rational, wrote a very rational report that's 58 pages long that summarizes exactly what went on. And that needs to be tossed in front of every single news media outlet, and any doubters out there. Neil deGrasse Tyson needs to read this, and they need to sit there and just eat crow, because yes, this stuff is real, has been going on, and our government is the reason that we have people like Mick West, who are quite honestly dogmatic kind of believers in the UFO the US government's lie about UFOs, and they're just in denial. This is showing very clearly this is what the US government has been doing, and you can guarantee for the last 50 years they haven't changed their tune, and we've just been brainwashed further and further by this kind of irresponsible behavior by our government.
Well, they tried to brainwash us, and I guess.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, people like Wes just mentioned, Neil deGrasse Tyson, even fucking Avi Loeb, they're following this policy to the letter. So this documents exactly what that policy is without guessing or speculating. It lays it all out in perfect detail as far as exactly how the U.S. government has been treating this with the public and with other governments around the world. So it's not a guess anymore. But other people that are in the public, like Avi Loeb, have bought into this hook, line, and sinker, which is amazing. That's a good point, Wes.
I mean, we also need to consider, when I'm reading this, this is a direct light being shined on the United States Air Force and the CIA. That's what this is. Okay. So we've been told that the United States Air Force is not cooperating, that they are behind this, that they supposedly have tech, that they've buried in black projects, and that the CIA has been the sweeper, the cleaner, the hitman, everything across the board. This document from one of our allies, it's interesting that it comes out at this time, because those are grand statements that people would make against the United States Air Force and CIA, who are part of our defense structure to keep us safe. And what this document does is it says that the United States Air Force and CIA are the problem. It's exactly what it says. It's very
Yeah.
pointed. It's not saying the entire United States government is a problem. It's saying, you want to know who the bad actors in your military industrial complex are? It's the United States Air Force and the CIA. It's heavily concentrated in that effect. So,
Yep. I am
so
quickly.
this is an attempt to identify who the problem is, and it's coming out. But I wouldn't necessarily lump the entire United States government into this, because they're basically saying you have some bad actors within your government. And now we have documentation from our own counterintelligence that shows what they've been up to.
Exactly. And I think, Mike, what you said earlier is just finally resonating with me even more, which is why, if you're a legitimate journalist in the mainstream media, like if you work for the New York Times, if this gets in front of your face and you don't take heed and start looking into what that means about the BS stories you're getting fed by Susan Go, or the report that the New York Times put out that was obviously not correct about the Julian Barnes put out about the UAP report. This is a call to action and a roadmap for our press to go and start finding the truth.
Yes. Quick for everybody's additional reading, if you want to reread the different stuff, there are there's a cover page and 3 additional pages that we didn't cover. It was written in cursive. It would be a lot more difficult to go through. We can check that at another time. But I pinned a link up at the top of the channel, at the top of the chat right now. And I've also put the link below in the description for today's show. I just created a PDF for it for everybody on the pages that I've taken out of it. And go at it, download the doc, check it out. It's something I wanted to share with everybody, and I followed through on that. So,
that's so much better than the way it was on their website.
I know. I looked at that and I was like, "Oh, fuck! You got to be kidding me! Really? There's not a PDF on this?" And I figured this is exactly what I was going to have to do. I was going to have the document freaking scaled up on a 4K monitor, so I'm getting good resolution and seeing it. Going ahead and doing a screen capture, showing it in the preview application where I could go and kind of highlight stuff as we were going through it.
Hey, can I answer Daryl's nice, awesome super chat real quick?
Oh, he gave us a super chat? Holy cow, yes. Has the Australian government admitted that this report is for real?
So, Daryl, this is actually coming to you straight from the National Archives of Australia, a government website.
Yes, I can go ahead and it's coming from recordsearch.nsa.gov.au.
Wow, that was a great question. I did not know that. That is amazing.
Yes. And I'll go back to the first page on this, and I will pass a link on to the entire document if you guys want to go ahead and grab it. And you're not going to be able to grab it. You're not going to be able to get a PDF. You're going to have to bring it up on a screen and try and struggle with it. I'll get another
download Thomas's
PDF. It'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's so much better.
I'm used to taking digital documents and everything and putting it together to make people's workflow and pipelines easier. I just saw this and I figured we need to have a way to go ahead and share this out there for everybody. So let me go ahead and pass that into the chat as well. So if you want to, there is the original document link right there in the chat.
I'll just say something as well.
Yes.
Yeah, you said that it came from Ross Coulthard. Is that right, West?
Well, that's how I remember seeing the link. I should probably go back and double check my faulty memory, but I've got it off of Twitter, I think, and it was not Ross Coulthard, but it was someone who linked to it and quoted Ross Coulthard as the source.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm hoping whoever the source is, if it's Ross or whoever, we're sending this out to every single news agency everywhere, just hitting everywhere with this. Because I'd like to see it hitting as many places as possible and see what their replies are, see whether it gets stonewalled or what.
For our next show, I'll try to get to Thomas my direct source so that we can correctly attribute this to whoever I found it from.
Yeah. Definitely brilliant. Yeah, thank you, West.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, thanks to Daryl Zernick for that wonderful super chat. We wouldn't be the same without all of the loving support we get from all of our supporters like Daryl and everybody else who's give us super chats. Remember, all the money we comes in from Disclosure Tonight goes back into our production fund. We appreciate it, and I'm so thankful from everybody, and I'm just astounded by the love and support we get on a regular basis. Thank you much, Daryl, to everybody as well. It's been a great conversation so far. Holy cow. On that note, this could go on forever, but let me go ahead as the audience starts to fade. Let me go ahead, and if I could, let me crank up that music just, wait, where'd it go? That music just a little bit louder. Oh, start again. There we go, everybody. I want to thank everybody for their wonderful support today on Disclosure Tonight. Holy cow. What a great audience. What a great topic. What a fucking great document. Holy cow, I had no idea. We're probably going to have at least 2 more shows, next consecutive shows, to go over this stuff, and hopefully our panel jumps in for that. Great conversation. Lee Views had some amazing things, but before I thank the panel, I want to thank everybody for their super chats today. That start off with, oh, it doesn't have everybody here. I have to go to the back end to see. I think it started off with some other people, so let me jump into the back to go ahead and do that. Let me jump back into the studio and say, hey, we're up to 2,243 subs. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing to the show. We appreciate the love and the enjoyment that this broadcast brings everybody. Let me get across back to here, and I can bring up a listing of all the super chats we've gotten today from all of our viewers who came into play. I'm doing a romper room. A romper, bomper, stomper, do. Tell me, do. Magic Mirror, tell me today that all my friends have fun at play. For that matter, I want to thank Daryl Zernick, Susan Goes, Time Traveling Pangolins, Florence Tracy. Oh, wow, I missed that completely. Florence, holy cow, I feel like a schmuck. It must have happened when I was outside looking for a cupcake. Why isn't that not looping? Stopping. Loop. There we go. Let me get this up. Thank you very much, Florence, for the wonderful super chat. Holy cow, thank you again. Detroit Deadpool, Jacques Landry, Larry Gurn, Scott Jensen, Pam Harris, Shelly Monk. No, that's from yesterday. Let me start again. Daryl Zernick, Susan Goes, Time Traveling Pangolins, Florence Tracy, Detroit Deadpool, Jacques Landry, Larry Gurnt, Scott Jensen, Pam Harris. No, not Pam Harris. That's everybody. I keep on trying to count more people than there were. Thank you, everybody, from last night's show for all the love and support and everything. It's been phenomenal. I love you all. I greatly appreciate it. More importantly, I want to thank our people who came in on the call-in today on the chat line. Holy cow, you guys are just freaking awesome. Let me go ahead and get rid of that music. And this is the point where I thank the people who came in on the panel. Wes Decker, you're up there. Thanks for talking about this, bringing it up last night, and I was like, oh my God, yes, we've got content for Saturday. But it's not just for Saturday. There's many more days coming out of it. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for all the great, insightful feedback you've had today.
Hey, my pleasure, and thanks to you for this amazing platform and for all you do to help us get the message out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Wes. Andy W., you were the first person who came in before the show, been hanging out for a while. Thanks for hanging out tonight on this special show for the UK audience. Andy, are you still with us?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Yeah, it's been a really, really interesting
show.
God,
yeah. It's one of those things that pops your eyes open. You're like, holy shit, really? I want to go through. We'll get more, but we just got to take it in small slices. Also want to thank Larry Gurnt for being here today, buddy.
Thanks, Thomas. The human adventure is just beginning.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. And our guy who's been usually the loudest voice, who's been kind of quiet today in some ways, but letting ever people get their crypto, Mike. Thanks for coming in, my friend.
Oh, it was my pleasure. You know what they say, Thomas, better late than never, right?
Yeah, better late than never, but it sounds like, hey, we've got the Howard Stern of UFOs.
There you go. I agree with that.
As many people have said. More importantly, it's not just the super chats. It's not just the panel. It's, turn that off now. It's the great people in the chat. Holy cow, the chat has been on fire today. Holy cow, let me take a look inside my magic mirror and see what people are still out there today right now in the show. Oh, let's
Thomas,
see.
Yes, sir. I apologize for interrupting, but I have a quick correction. I found the tweet. It is from Brian Johnson. And I may have misspoken. I reread his tweet, and it's actually says from Ross Coulthardt's Australia. It's not from Ross Coulthart. So we should give credit to Brian Johnson for this discovery.
Absolutely. Yeah. Send across the link. I can go ahead and
I will get that link up for us in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. But back to thanking the audience. No, that's Chips. Wrong one. There we go. There's the volume I was looking for. Let's see who we still have in the chat right now. First of all, I want to thank Adele and Mark Bromley and Mama Florence Tracy. Thank you for coming out today and all your super chats. Hopefully, Florence is not with us anymore. I miss thanking her for her super chat. Shit. I feel bad. I feel really bad. Amiga Rules, Blake McCurry, Christina Pisani, Craig T. Music, Dennis Benke, Eddie L. Vieira, Electra RC, also known as Zach, Factor Fiction, Feigenshow 87. Oh, Feigenshow, thank you for coming in today. Absolutely. Grandmaster UV, John Dillinger, Kelly Burrout, LD Drums 20. Some new people have jumped in the chat today. Mr. Catfish 2100, Nathan Forrest, Neon Pop 80, Paradigm Theories, Razma, Taz, Sapphire Elf, thanks again for coming in, being part of the conversation today, as well as Joseph Syracusa, Super Unknown, Thor Panchow, Tony D, Vax Censorship, yes, Beam Up and Eyes, W. Decker, and Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. Let's see if there's anyone else who popped in to say anything in the meantime. If I can get there and see it in my chat, if it's not going to be updating, come on, you can get there, update. It's going to probably update and show everything again. I want to thank Sapphire Elf again. Eddie L. Vieira, thank you. Paradigm Theories, Tommy, Mrs. If I missed you, anybody, LD Drums. See you later, my friend. If there's some new people in the chat that I missed who were names that were there, I'll see what I can do. Christina Cassini, thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat. Holy cow, you're a moderator. Not a super chat, just for being in the chat itself. Thank you to everybody for being here. And as we usually say at the end of every broadcast, eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone. Where's that?
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. Better get there before they go out of business and they're all gone and liquidated. I want to thank again, everybody. Catch you on the flip side. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Thank you.